On the day my childhood sweetheart got engaged to someone else, I was involved in a plane crash. The person who came to collect my body was Chenjo, whom I once called a hateful person. He dropped everything and chose to commit suicide, to go to hell with me. In my new life, I knocked on Chenjo's door in the heavy rain. In his astonished eyes, I pulled his sleeves. Chenjo, shall we get married? The man's eyes suddenly turned red, but he shook my hand off indifferently. Is it fun to tease me? That night, I was shivering in the rain. Chenjo opened the door with a murderous look on his face, sighed, and pulled me into his arms. Shintang, I'm just a dog you raised. When I opened my eyes again, I was awakened by a cool breeze. I got up and closed the window. The weather has just begun to turn to autumn, and I have returned to the time before my childhood sweetheart Suchen got engaged. My phone rang several times. It was a message from Suchen. Tang Tang. I'm having dinner with Shuyu tonight. You can come over too. I know you feel uncomfortable, but I have decided to marry her. We will meet each other in the future. I don't want the relationship between the two most important people in my life to become so strained. Please give me some face and have dinner together tonight, okay? Looking at the messages popping up on my phone, I sneered. In my previous life, I had always been devoted to Suchen. He promised me that we would get married after graduating from college. I never worry that Suchen will go back on his word, because I know that with our childhood sweetheart relationship, he will marry me one day. But later, a girl named Shuyu appeared in Suchen's life. She always liked to tease Suchen, often making him blush. I would also kiss his cheek and say, "You are so cute," when he is angry. I watched Suchen fall step by step. He said that after Shuyu appeared, he finally understood what it felt like to be in love. He said she was his light and his salvation. He also said that he would never marry anyone except Shuyu in this life. He forgot everything he had promised me and cruelly and decisively made me accept the reality. In my previous life, on the day he and Shuyu got engaged, I was on a business trip in Los Angeles. When I heard the news, I was devastated. I immediately turned down all my work and bought a plane ticket to rush back home. Maybe it was God's will that I couldn't stop them from getting together. That day, the plane I was on crashed. At the moment when the cabin was falling rapidly, I felt more regretful. I don't think I should die like this. What I am even more unwilling to accept is that I lost my life in vain for a man who didn't love me. 2. After I died, my soul has been wandering around the place where the plane crashed. The media reported the incident as soon as possible. And the only person who came to collect my body was Chenjo, the person I once hated the most. He rushed to the scene with red eyes. He let his hands dig into the ground until it was bloody, but he still refused to stop. Chenjo kept calling my name. The overwhelming grief made his eyes go dark and he passed out. Later, he committed suicide by taking pills in his villa. When they were found, the best time for rescue had already passed. The suicide note in the study only had one sentence. Don't be afraid, Tang Tang. I'm here to accompany you. Maybe Chenjo's obsession was too deep, and I came back to life again, feeling the fresh breath. I just felt like it's been a long time. This time, I decided to take good care of Chenjo. This man who once gave his life to me. He loved me so much, but I was blind in my previous life and let him down. Thinking of this, I opened the chat interface on my phone, replied to Suchen with a short message. I have no objection to whoever you marry. Just don't contact me anymore. After sending this, I quickly turned off my phone. It was getting dark outside the window. At this point, Chenjo should have finished get off work. When I changed my clothes and went out, the weather news was on TV. From 18:30 tonight, there will be heavy rainfall in the city. Please bring rain gear when going out. I didn't care and turned off the TV. When I got off the taxi, it started to drizzle, relying on my memory. I searched for Chenjo's address in the villa area. In my previous life, I only heard him mention it once. When I reached the door, I swallowed nervously. Then, he raised his hand and pressed the doorbell. Even when I heard that Suchen and Shuyu were engaged in my previous life, my heart had never beaten so fast. This is the first time I've seen Chenjo again after so many years. The doorbell rang several times before footsteps were heard from inside. After opening the door, Chenjo and I looked at each other. He was wearing a gray home suit, and his black hair made him look a little cute. Seeing that it was me at the door, his eyes jumped. Shintang. Under his gaze, my face gradually turned red. It was raining heavily, and drops of rain were hitting the steps under my feet. I took a deep breath and grabbed Chenjo's sleeve in the astonished look in his eyes. Chenjo, shall we get married? 3. The air suddenly became quiet. Chenjo's eyes suddenly turned red. He looked at me steadily, as if trying to read something from my face. After a long while, Chenjo finally laughed at himself. Shentang, is it fun to play tricks on me? He turned to leave, but I pulled him back again. When I met Chenjo's indifferent eyes, I just felt extremely uncomfortable. So this is what it feels like to be ignored. That's how I treated him in the past. I once called Chenjo a disgusting person. I once cried hysterically in front of him, begging him not to appear in my life again. Chenjo must have felt very uncomfortable at that time, but I was still feeling sad for Su Chen, and my mind was entirely on another man. I deserved to die. Thinking of this, my eyes became more determined. Chenjo, I know you don't believe me now, but I am sincere about getting married. I want to be with you. Chenjo's eyes deepened and he lowered his eyelids, the moment I closed the door. I heard Chenjo's cold voice, it's raining, let's go back early. Just like that, Chenjo locked me out. The heavy rain roared and hit me in protest. I tried my best to move inside, but half of my body was still wet. In the early autumn weather, the rain brings a chilly chill. I stood there, not moving a step. After closing the door, Chenjo forced himself to go to the study to continue working. He has been doing this for 2 days in a row. The project had reached its final stages and he had to keep an eye on it, but the woman outside the door made him upset and unable to concentrate. She suddenly came to him today and said she wanted to get married, which really scared him. In the past, such words would never come out of Shentang's mouth. At one point, Chenjo thought he was suffering from lovesickness and was hallucinating. But seeing her determined eyes, Chenjo was inevitably moved. He hardened his heart and forced himself to stop caring about her. 10 minutes passed. The surveillance on the computer showed that she had not left yet. Even though she was shivering with cold, she still waited stubbornly for him to come out. It's so persistent. Chenjo shook his head helplessly, but finally softened his heart. He went to the bathroom to get a large clean towel and walked quickly to the entrance. I was standing at the door, shivering all over with cold. Just when I thought Chenjo would ignore me, the door opened. A clean towel quickly blocked my view. Then, I felt myself being pulled into a warm embrace. Chenjo's hoarse voice sounded in my ears. Shentang, I'm just a dog you raised. I've decided not to like you anymore, but I can't control my heart. My heart trembled violently and I opened my mouth to say something. The next second, she was picked up by the man and the rain was blocked outside the door. 4. Chenjo put me on the sink in the bathroom. His eyes were cold. Take a shower first. After saying that, he went to the bedroom and got me a set of men's pajamas. This is new and has never been worn. After you wash up, come out quickly. Watching him busying around, I nodded obediently. The bathroom door was closed by Chenjo. I looked at the furnishings in the bathroom and it was obvious that no woman had ever been here. This realization made me inexplicably excited. When I dried my hair and walked out, Chenjo was sitting in the study looking through some documents. Seeing me come out, he waved for me to come over. Drink this. Chenjo raised his hand and handed me the prepared cold medicine. The cup was still warm, and I drank it all in one gulp. Chenjo always has endless patience when it comes to me. Why couldn't I see his good side before? By the way, this is the first time I see Chenjo working seriously. He is completely different from the impression I had of him. I hesitated for a moment, thinking that I might as well not disturb him for the time being. As I was walking towards the living room, Chenjo stopped me. Are you serious about what you just said? I turned around and found Chenjo was also looking at me. His dark eyes showed no emotion. I'm serious, I answered like this. As he finished speaking, his eyelashes trembled. Feeling the hesitation emanating from Chenjo, my heart ached. The next second, I walked to Chenjo. She held his hand tightly in his blank eyes. I meant every word I said today. Chenjo, I want to marry you. Is that okay? This was the first time I proposed to a man, and I felt inexplicably nervous. Even the way he looked at Chenjo became somewhat cautious. He looked at me with his peach blossom eyes, as if he was afraid that all this was fake. Tang, prove it to me. Prove that you are willing to marry me. How do you want to prove it? After he finished speaking, the man's Adam's apple rolled. Kiss me. I didn't say anything, just looked at Chenjo quietly. There was a possessiveness towards me and a hint of fear in his eyes. He was panicking, afraid that I was just acting on impulse. The next second, without a second thought, I leaned over and kissed him on the lips, just as expected. Chenjo's lips are soft and kissable. As if he sensed my initiative, Chenjo was a little bit unbelieving. I took a step forward and kissed him, and he gently took a step back. If he took a step back, I would pursue him without hesitation. After feeling my determination, Chenjo sighed and took the initiative. He pulled me onto his lap and showered me with kisses. Late at night, emotions stir. Chenjo carried me to the bedroom. His hoarse voice was particularly sexy in the middle of the night. Tang tang, it's not too late for you to regret now. I didn't say anything, but just gently unbuttoned his clothes, used practical actions to show Chenjo that I have no regrets. There was a strong possessiveness in his eyes. Tang tang, I will definitely die on you. I buried myself in his arms shyly. After all the trouble, I finally fell asleep from exhaustion. 5. When I woke up the next morning, Chenjo was gone. I walked into the living room and saw a prepared breakfast on the dining table. There was a pink sticky note stuck to it. Tang tang, get up and remember to eat breakfast. I have an important meeting this morning. I will come back to pick you up after I finish my work. We will go to get the certificate. When I saw the words, get the certificate, I couldn't help blushing. Chenjo is really efficient. Get married when you say you will. Without any delay. I sat down in a good mood and ate the fried eggs Chenjo made for me. When I thought of him, the corners of my lips curled up slightly. While it was still early, I hailed a car and went straight home. I bought this house a few years ago. Although it's not big, it can be considered a home in this city. When I went downstairs with my ID, Chenjo was waiting for me in the car. I'll call a moving company later to move all your stuff to my place. He buckled my seatbelt expertly. His tone leaving no room for doubt. Seeing that I nodded without objection, Chenjo chuckled. He suddenly came closer and looked at me with his peach blossom eyes. Are you ready to be Mrs. Chen? My heart skipped a beat. Why didn't I realize before that Chenjo really likes to play tricks on people? I pursed my lips and kissed Chenjo on the lips without hesitation. The man's smile suddenly froze, and a suspicious blush appeared on his fair face. Chenjo coughed twice and returned to his seat, sitting in the passenger seat. My smile gradually grew. A pure-hearted man like Chenjo is so easy to control. After completing a series of procedures, Chenjo seemed to have settled down. He held my hand and called me wife over and over again. I responded to him over and over again. Chenjo's eyes turned from joy to redness. At the moment of tears, he kissed my lips passionately. From now on, you are mine, Tang Tang. Do you know how happy I am? Do you know how happy I am? I know. During so many dark days, he was always watching me silently from behind. Watch me cry, watch me laugh, watch me chase another man. Now, it's my turn to love him well. 6. Late at night, after I came out of the shower, I turned on my cell phone. There were dozens of missed calls, all from Su Chen. The latest piece of information just now. Tang Tang. Are you hiding from me? Tell me where you are now. I rubbed my brows with a headache and planned to tell him about the marriage. I heard footsteps behind me, and Chenjo picked me up sideways. I screamed and my phone accidentally fell on the bed. The man chuckled and didn't care. Wife, it's late, time to go to bed. The next second, his lips covered mine. Chenjo seems particularly anxious tonight. The words I spoke were swallowed up in the kiss, as they were making love. The clear sound of a cell phone ring filled the entire bedroom. Chenjo pretended not to hear and kissed her even more deeply. I was a little anxious and wanted to answer the phone. However, Chenjo grabbed my chin domineeringly and forced me to accept him. Tang Tang, pay attention, okay. But the bell rang and stopped and rang again. There is a tendency to keep calling if you don't answer. After a long moment, Chenjo cursed inwardly, with an unsatisfied look on his face. He took my cell phone from the end of the bed. When Chenjo saw the two big words Su Chen, his face darkened. The tone was also much colder than before. Looking for you. I looked at Chenjo and pressed the answer button. The voice on the other end of the phone was more urgent than I expected. Tang Tang, I know you are angry with me. Please stop being angry. Okay, I haven't been able to contact you these past 2 days. I'm very worried. Are you home? Can I come find you now? I pursed my lips. No need, I'm not home now. Su Chen immediately responded, it's so late, where else could you be if you're not home? I'm here with Chenjo. The air suddenly became quiet. Su Chen's disbelieving voice came from the receiver. How could you? 7. Before I could say anything, I felt the air around me get several degrees colder. Chenjo raised his eyes slightly and said lightly, Tang Tang, didn't you tell him that we are married? Looking at Chenjo's slightly disappointed eyes, my heart tightened, subconsciously. I wanted to explain to Chenjo. No, I just wanted to tell him, even though I couldn't get a response. Suchin kept calling me on the other end of the phone. Chenjo's eyes darkened and he kissed my slightly open lips without hesitation. Tang, let me tell you, what method should I use to defeat my love rival? Suchin was originally very anxious. He had imagined 10,000 reasons that he could not accept. Why is Shentang at Chenjo's place so late at night? But when he heard a slight gasp from the other end of the phone, Suchin felt like he was struck by lightning. At that moment, Suchin felt as if his world was collapsing. He once thought that as long as he looked back, Shentang would always be waiting for him there. But now, she is in the arms of another man. She doesn't like him anymore. This realization made Suchin tremble all over, and his blood froze. The next second, he heard Chenjo's voice on the other end of the phone. Next time, remember not to disturb our married life at night, Suchin. Don't you have a wife? After saying this, Chenjo decisively hung up the phone, but Suchin was still in shock for a long time. Shentang and Chenjo got married? No way, this is impossible. Tang clearly hated Chenjo so much before. She clearly felt disgusted if she looked at Chenjo for any longer than necessary. Why marry him now? The more Suchin thought about it, the more upset he became. So he simply swept everything on the table to the ground. Inside the villa's bedroom, after a lot of trouble, Chenjo held me in his arms and said nothing. I felt a little flustered, but I still propped myself up and looked at him. There was an emotion in Chenjo's eyes that I couldn't understand. I leaned over and slowly smoothed his frown. Chenjo, are you unhappy? The man's eyes moved slightly, and his hands around my waist tightened. Tang, you still like Suchin, right? 8. Chenjo's words made my eyes suddenly red. No, I really don't like him anymore. I was just about to tell him, but you interrupted me. Chenjo, the person in my heart now is you. Chenjo looked at me. After a long time, he finally smiled. Okay, I understand. The more he did this, the more flustered I felt. I would rather Chenjo scold me or vent his emotions to me. Unfortunately, he didn't. I went forward and hugged his neck. Honey, do you believe me, despite the sweet words? Chenjo still couldn't stand this kind of attack. He hugged me lovingly. I trust you, Tang. I just care about you too much. I greedily hope that you have always been mine alone. His eyes were red, and he held my hand to his lips tenderly and kissed it gently. I know it all. His fear and vulnerability were all revealed to me. All I can do is give him a sense of security. My married life with Chenjo is happier than I imagined. He never comes into contact with the opposite sex and has a strong sense of propriety. Even a small word from me can be kept in his heart. My friends all say that I am lucky to have a husband like this, to the extent that, I looked at Chenjo busy in the kitchen wearing an apron, and suddenly I felt something was unreal. Walking into the kitchen, I hugged Chenjo from behind. He paused while cutting vegetables and chuckled again. You seem to be particularly clingy to me these past 2 days. After saying this, the corners of his lips slightly raised. It's a good thing. I tightened my hands around Chenjo's waist, feeling a little distressed. If this makes you happy, I'll do more of it in the future. Chenjo's back stiffened for a moment, and then he turned around. His eyes darkened and he looked at me with his peach blossom eyes. Really, will you love me more and more? At this moment, Chenjo was like a cautious child, trying to please others. I hugged his neck and stood on tiptoes to place a kiss on his forehead. Yes, Chenjo, I will love you more and more. Chenjo's eyes darkened and a gentle kiss fell, a touch of warmth. 9. On Friday night, Chenjo was out for a social event. I originally planned to go home, take a shower, watch TV series, and wait for Chenjo to come back. Unexpectedly, I received an invitation to a high school reunion when I was getting off work. This party was initiated by our high school class monitor. When I arrived at the dining area, Suchin was standing at the door waiting for me. He looked delighted to see me coming. I didn't intend to pay attention to him and just walked past him. Unexpectedly, Suchin eagerly grabbed my arm. Tang, are you really married to Chenjo? Tell me, this is fake, right? You obviously hated Chenjo the most in high school. So why did you marry him? Suchin's words sounded like a question, but also like he was talking to himself. He had a forced smile on his face, waiting for my answer. I shook my hands and took a step back. Do you think I should lie to you? Why? Because I love him. As soon as he finished speaking, I saw Suchin's eyes turned red instantly. No way, you can't possibly love him. You clearly said that you would marry me after you graduated from college. Tang, look at me. The person you love is me, right? Su-chan's eyes were bloodshot and he grabbed my shoulders tightly. I frowned in pain, and Su-chen let me go as if he had just woken up from a dream. Su-chen, who was the first to break our oath. Do you want me to say more? Has it never happened that you and Shuyue are going to get married? Or do you want both Shuyue and I? I'm telling you, you'd better give up on this idea. Seeing my firm tone, he hesitated to speak. I glanced at him and walked forward, but Su-chen's voice came from behind. Shuyue and I have broken up. I was bewildered before, and that's why I hurt your heart. Tang Tang, I regret it now. You and Chenjo divorce, and we can get back together. Okay, I sneered but didn't stop. Why does Su-chen think that as long as he looks back, I can always wait for him here? Everything he did now was just the result of his ridiculous possessiveness. When I loved him with all my heart, he felt confident. So you can love others passionately. When I turned around and married Chenjo, Su-chen couldn't stand it anymore. He couldn't stand others invading his territory and taking his things. To put it bluntly, in Su-chen's eyes, I am just an insignificant object. But Chenjo loves me with everything he has. He is fragile and sensitive. I will never hurt him again. For Su-chen. 10. The first time I met Chenjo was in my second year of high school. After school, I helped the teacher mark test papers. When I came out of the teaching building, the sunset in the sky was just right. On the other side of the basketball court, stood a dirty young man. He was as worn out as a stray dog on the roadside, with his eyes lowered as he was being scolded by his father. I paused, although it was far away. The middle-aged man's shouting and cursing was unbearable to hear. The young man had an indifferent expression and didn't even lift his eyelids. The next second, the middle-aged man slapped the boy hard in the face. Asshole. Don't think that just because your mother is gone, you have the right to do whatever you want. If you cause trouble in school again, I won't let you go. After he finished speaking, the middle-aged man quickly disappeared from my sight, wherever I looked. I saw the boy curled up and squatted down. I didn't say anything and walked quickly towards the school gate. With every step I took, it felt like something was calling me from behind. I held on to the shoulder straps of my school bag tightly and finally stopped. I walked up to the boy and handed him a clean handkerchief. There's blood at the corner of your mouth. Are you okay? At that time, Chenjo looked up at me for the first time. I was stunned. Those were a pair of very clean and clear eyes. He took the handkerchief and said thank you. Later I learned that Chenjo's mother died when he was very young. He was extremely rebellious during his adolescence, and even refused anyone to enter his world. Even so, every time Chenjo was called to the police station as a parent, his father would still rush to the school and apologize to the teacher with his head down. Since then, there has been a little tale behind me that I can't get rid of. Chenjo would always follow me silently and send me home. He would also stand up for me and fight for me when I was bullied. During that time, the rumor in school was that Chenjo liked me. I finally couldn't stand it anymore. One time, I stopped Chenjo in the dead of night. Just tell me what you want. At that time, Chenjo chuckled, with a bitter smile. Shintang, all I want is you. What about you? Can you give it? That day, I cursed Chenjo harshly and called him a pervert. I cried and begged him to stop following me and stop appearing in my world. I said, Chenjo, you really make me sick. As they looked at each other, the light in Chenjo's eyes gradually faded. Later, I started to avoid him and tried my best to create opportunities to be with Su-chen. However, even Su-chen couldn't ignore Chenjo's presence. That's why he promised me that we would get married right after graduation. At that time, I looked at Chenjo, who was hidden in the light and shadow. He agreed to Su-chen very deliberately and loudly, and Chenjo never appeared in front of me again. 11. Pulling myself away from my memories, I was already standing at the door of the box. When I pushed the door open, the scene was very lively. Su-chen and I went in one after another, and everyone greeted me warmly. My former deskmate Xiaoyun pulled me over to sit down. Everyone was talking at once, but most of the conversation was just polite greetings. Shintang, you have been too low-key these years. You have never been at our gatherings. Yes, get together with us more often. We are all old classmates. I chuckled, busy with work. If Xiaoyun hadn't kept urging me this time, I naturally wouldn't have come. I never like this kind of occasion. Since Su-chen entered the box, he has been chatting with the squad leader. His eyes would fall on me from time to time, making me feel a little uncomfortable. Sat there for about 10 minutes. I picked up my purse and went to the bathroom. While I was putting on makeup, my cell phone rang with a message. Chenjo, Tang Tang, are you having a party near the company? Me, how do you know? By the way, he sent Chenjo a puzzled expression. I got a quick reply. I installed a positioning system in your phone. I twitched my lips. This man wants to keep track of my whereabouts at all times. When we returned to the box, they were playing Truth or Dare. I sat next to Xiaoyun and watched them have fun. Unexpectedly, the next second, the bottle mouth on the table was suddenly pointed at me. Someone in the crowd asked, "Truth or Dare?" I pursed my lips and chose the adventure. Several active students immediately became excited. Like this, you and Suchen stand face to face, and put your arms around his neck. Say cheesy sweet nothings to him and kiss him on the cheek affectionately. As soon as he finished speaking, a burst of booing sound was heard. Everyone looked at Su Chen and me with mischievous expressions, especially those who usually get along well with Su Chen. The meaning in their eyes is more obvious. I frowned and immediately denied it. Change it. I really can't do this. Su Chen's smile froze in an instant. Are you going to resist me this much even in games? I didn't say anything, and everyone started to persuade me. No way, no way. Shen Tang, are you so insolent? Hey. Didn't you used to be with Su Chen? Yeah. I also remember that you and Su Chen had a good relationship back then. Did you break up? It's just a kiss on the cheek. There's no need to be so disappointing, right? Among those who mocked me, there were also some girls in my class. Xiaoyun was indignant for me. Isn't that a bit too much? What if Tang Tang is married now? Wouldn't you be destroying someone else's family by making such a fuss? One of the girls rolled her eyes. You also said it's just a possibility, so what if she doesn't get married? Xiaoyun was so angry that her face turned red and her neck became thick. I patted her hand soothingly and looked at everyone. I am married. My husband is more sensitive. He will be unhappy if I do this. 12. After I finished speaking, all eyes in the box were focused on me. Su Chen's face turned blue and red. He stood up in shame and anger, and suddenly pulled me up. Then he leaned close to my ear. Tang Tang, do you really have to embarrass me in front of so many people? I was stunned. Then Su Chen pulled my hands up and placed them on his neck. I struggled, but he locked my hands tighter. Just when I was getting angry and embarrassed, the door of the box suddenly opened. Chenjo stood at the door with a stern face, staring straight at Su Chen and me. Who are you? Some people in the crowd looked at Chenjo with displeased expressions. The next second, Chenjo looked at him coldly. This look is full of oppression. The originally noisy box suddenly became quiet. Chenjo stretched out his long legs, walked over and pulled me into his arms. He touched my red wrist with concern. Does it hurt? I shook my head and smiled at Chenjo. He ruffled the strands of hair on my forehead. I have a bad temper, and my biggest weakness is protecting my wife. Shen Tang is now married. Please be careful when socializing in the future. If you offend my wife like this again, I will let you know the consequences. Chenjo spoke, but his eyes were looking at Su Chen. The two men's eyes met in the air. Under the strong sense of oppression from Chenjo, Su Chen still looked away in embarrassment. After saying that, Chenjo took my hand and left the box, sitting in the passenger seat. I squeezed the seat belt nervously. Although Chenjo had no expression on his face, he was driving very fast. I wanted to say something, but was ultimately scared back by his gloomy face. Late at night, Chenjo held me tightly in his arms. He pulled the quilt closer to me to make sure I wouldn't catch a cold. I sniffed. Chenjo, I want to talk to you about what happened tonight. It's okay, go to sleep. The words that were about to come out were interrupted softly. Chenjo kissed my forehead, his voice flat. I wanted to say something, but I could hear the sound of even breathing above my head. Forget it, let's talk about it tomorrow. 13. I had a very long dream in which a man was chasing me. When I was startled awake, I subconsciously touched my side, but he woke up instantly when he touched the cold quilt. Chenjo is not next to me. I was startled. Wearing slippers, he hurriedly opened the bedroom door. When Chenjo was found, he was sitting alone in the audiovisual room. There were no lights on inside, and even the movie was playing on silent mode. I fumbled to turn on the light, and at first glance saw the embarrassed and pitiful Chenjo. He sat down on the carpet obediently. It seemed that he had maintained this posture for a long time. When he looked at me, his eyes were bloodshot. My heart skipped a beat and I walked over quickly. Can't sleep. Chenjo looked up at me, his voice a little hoarse. Then why don't you turn on the sound? I was afraid of disturbing you. I lowered my eyelids and held Chenjo's hand. In the past, Chenjo's big hands were always warm and dry, but tonight his hands were exceptionally cold. I took a blanket from the sofa and covered him with it with heartache. Next time you can't sleep, be sure to call me. Can I accompany you? Chenjo nodded obediently. Good, Tang Tang, I will do whatever you say. He held me in his arms, but his shoulders were shaking slightly. Chenjo, do you have anything to say to me? I leaned on his shoulder and patiently guided him. I knew a long time ago that Chenjo had severe paranoia. Once he has taken someone into his territory, he will never let go easily. After a long while, Chenjo's trembling voice sounded, Tang Tang, I'm sorry, although I know there's nothing between you and Su Chen, I still can't control my irritation. Even seeing you two standing together is unbearable for me. Before I got you, I thought that as long as you were willing to be with me, I would be willing to do anything. Then you married me, but I coveted your heart. I wanted your body and soul to belong to me. I know I'm being greedy, but I really can't help loving you. Every day I want you to stop talking to any other man in the world more than ever before. I'm really afraid that this morbid love will scare you. After he finished speaking, Chenjo choked up. His tears fell on my shoulders and burned my heart. Chenjo has always been a sensitive child. He lives in a dark world. He would be afraid of losing me, afraid of scaring me. Even though he was so unhappy about what happened tonight, he didn't dare to blame me. This kind of Chenjo really makes me feel sorry for him. 14. I stepped out of his arms and gently wiped Chenjo's tears. He looked at me cautiously, as if I were a child who had done something wrong. Tang Tang, please don't leave me. Okay, in my impression, Chenjo never cried even when he was slapped by his father. Such a man was so fragile that he cried in front of me. I looked at him and kissed him on the lips without hesitation. Chenjo was stunned for a moment, then opened his lips to let me go deeper. After the kiss, I played with Chenjo's messy hair. Chenjo, you can actually tell me, no matter what it is, whether you are happy or unhappy. I hope you can share it with me. From the day I came to you, I was destined to be with you forever. I will never give this kind of feeling to anyone again, so, you can ask me again and again. I will never tire of responding to you. I love you very much. After saying this, Chenjo's tears fell even harder. He pulled me into his arms. Tang Tang, don't lie to me. If you lie to me, I'll go crazy. In the end, it is unclear who kissed whom first. Chenjo just eagerly tore my lips. It seems that only such strong possession can prove that I love him. An hour later, Chenjo carried me to the bathroom to take a shower. I'm extremely sleepy. He kissed my lips enthusiastically. Tang Tang, do you love me? At the same time, even if I am extremely sleepy, I will still cooperate and say, Chenjo, I love you so much. After getting the answer, Chenjo carried me back to the room. He continued to hold me in his arms and fell asleep contentedly. 15. Time flies. And in a blink of an eye, Chenjo and I have been married for more than half a year. I've been feeling nauseous quite a lot lately. When the relatives had not yet arrived, Chenjo took me to get checked out. When the results came out, a kind middle-aged female doctor was sitting in front of me. Congratulations, you're pregnant, 4 weeks pregnant. The baby is growing very healthy now. Chenjo and I looked at each other. I could read the deep joy in his eyes. Being a father for the first time. Chenjo took care of every detail. He patiently asked the doctor about the taboos for pregnant women. In order to take better care of me, Chenjo hired an aunt. Most of the time, he works at home. Even my nutritious meals would be prepared by Chenjo himself. During the 2 months when I had the worst morning sickness, Chenjo lost even more weight than I did. If I must say, Chenjo is almost a perfect husband. Seeing how hard it was for me to be pregnant, he hugged me with heartache. This is the only one. I don't want to have any more children. I patted his head with a smile. Honey, do you want a boy or a girl? At that time, he gently took me into his arms. Boys and girls are fine, as long as it's yours. I like it. I smiled and didn't expose it. The last time he went to buy a crib, Chenjo bought a lot of little skirts for girls. I wanted to return it, but Chenjo refused. We don't know the gender of the baby yet. What if he can't wear it when the time comes? It's okay, just keep it as a souvenir. A few months later, the child born to Chenjo and me was finally born. It's a girl. The moment he came out of the delivery room, Chenjo's eyes were red with tears. He kissed my sweaty forehead. Tang Tang, thank you for your hard work. He named our child Chenju. He said that his daughter must look more like me. Many years later, I leaned in Chenjo's arms. Why did you like me in high school? Because you are pretty. I laughed and patted Chenjo's shoulder. Be serious. Chenjo kissed my forehead. My mother died when I was 8 years old, after she discovered my father's mistress. She lost her mind and died in a car accident. At that time, I always hated my father and even felt that life was meaningless. I'm dirty, I'm a gang fighter, I'm uneducated and I don't know how to do anything. It wasn't until later that you appeared in my life that I first had the idea of protecting a girl. Everyone is afraid of me, but you choose to get close to me regardless of everything. Listening to Chenjo recalling the past, I sighed softly. If your mother knew that you are married now and have your own children. I know you feel uncomfortable, but I have decided to marry her. Chenjo looked at the stars in the sky. Yeah, she'll be very happy. For a long time afterwards, Chenjo just hugged me quietly. After a long time, he suddenly called me, Tang Tang. Thank you for choosing me. I moved in his arms and looked up at him. Chenjo, I should be the one thanking you. Thank you for loving me for so long. From the initial unexpected encounter to now when the dust has settled. Chenjo walked towards me with determination at every step. This world is brilliant and great. Chenjo stood in the light and shadow and stretched out his hand to me. He smiled and said to me, Tang Tang, welcome to my world. Story 2. Huyen came to the Welfare Institute to choose a younger sister. All the girls crowded around, praying to be selected. Only I hid in the wardrobe and fell asleep. I thought I could get rid of the fate of becoming the adopted daughter of the Hua family in my last life and eventually becoming Huyen's wife, live a new life freely and happily, but when I woke up, I saw Huyen standing in front of the wardrobe door. He smiled and asked me, Luo Yang, would you like to come home with me? When I saw Huyen's face in front of me, I thought I was still in the nightmare just now. It wasn't until the director called me with a stern face, Luo Yang. Why did you hide here and fall asleep? That I woke up and realized that everything in front of me wasn't a dream. Seeing me standing there in a daze, the director reached out and pulled me out of the wardrobe. She tidied up my collar for me and pushed me in front of the Hua couple, saying, you fell asleep, and young Master Hua asked us not to wake you up. Everyone has been waiting for you for a long time. Huyen, who was mentioned, was standing in front of the Hua couple, with a faint smile on his face as he looked at me. At this moment, he was a bit different from the Huyen in my memory who was always cold to me. He took the initiative to greet me, Luo Yang, hello. I don't know why, but when the words Luo Yang came out of his mouth, there was an indescribable strangeness. I frowned and avoided his gaze. In my heart, I was wondering why they had to wait for me when they could clearly choose someone else. Wait for me, what for? The director bent down and explained to me, they want to adopt you. Yang will have a home, with a father, a mother, and an older brother. The director, who usually didn't smile much, now showed me a rare smile. I think she was probably happy for me. For the children in the Welfare Institute, being adopted was a stroke of luck, but the director didn't know that I had been reborn. I already knew that Huyen would come to the Welfare Institute to choose a younger sister today. So I deliberately hid in the wardrobe. Yang, would you like to come home with us? Aunt Hua took my hand and said gently, a Yan has always wanted a younger sister. You can be his younger sister in the future. This scene was exactly the same as in my previous life. Scenes from my previous life flashed through my mind like a slideshow. I immediately pulled my hand back and looked up at the director, saying, Director, I don't want to be adopted by them. As soon as I said this, everyone was surprised. The one who reacted the most strongly was Huyen. He frowned and asked me, why? Because I don't want to be your younger sister. Although I had refused him, there was not the slightest trace of anger on Huyen's face. Instead, his tone became even gentler, with a hint of subtle doting. Then instead of being my younger sister, just come back to the Hua family with me and live together. Is that okay? The director secretly tugged at my sleeve. But she still couldn't stop me from refusing Huyen again. No, I thought Huyen would give up. But when the director asked the Hua couple if they wanted to choose another girl, Huyen suddenly said loudly, Mom, I want her. He said, only she looks the most like my younger sister. Too, in my previous life, Huyen chose me among many girls because I looked somewhat similar to his younger sister. At that time, when I knew I had been selected, I just thought that God really favored me. I was taken back to the Hua family and renamed Huiyang, and I got my own room in the huge villa. Even though that room didn't really belong to me, I was still satisfied. Mrs. Hua said, the children from the Welfare Institute inevitably have a narrow mindset and can't behave or speak appropriately, so I got rid of my old habits and gradually became less and less like myself. Mrs. Hua was strict with me. I had to practice the piano for more than 12 hours every day. Even though the teacher clearly said that I had no talent for learning the piano, Mrs. Hua still accompanied me to practice the piano every day. but some things can't be forced. Sorry, Mom, I still can't play well. Every time I apologized, Mrs. Hu would look at me with more doting and comfort me. It doesn't matter, as long as Yang works hard, you will definitely be able to play well in the future. Later, I learned that playing the piano was the hobby of Mrs. Hu's deceased daughter. The reason why Mrs. Hu treated me like this was just to find the shadow of another person in me, but I didn't care about that. A fish lacking water doesn't care whether the water it gets is clean or not, it just wants to survive. Water is to a fish what love is to me, it's enough just to have it. I studied the piano even harder and tried even harder to please Mrs. Hu. We became more and more like a real mother and daughter, until at Huiyan's engagement banquet, he was drugged, and I happened to break into his room. Mr. Hu fainted from anger when he saw me and Huiyan. Mrs. Hu slapped me in the face, saying, I shouldn't have brought you to the Hu family in the first place. Huiyan looked at me in silence, with emotions in his eyes that I couldn't understand, but I thought he was probably regretting it too, regretting choosing me as his younger sister. I don't know what happened, I didn't drug my brother. I tried my best to explain myself, but no one believed me, so later, whenever Huiyan betrayed me countless times and betrayed our marriage, he would say, back then, you didn't hesitate to drug me just to marry your own brother, now all of this is your retribution. Huiyan hated me, so after we got married, he always liked to slap me in the face in public and embarrass me. Many people in the social circle were betting on how long my marriage with him would last, at most a year. Once the child is born, Huiyan will kick her out, but unfortunately, the result was beyond everyone's expectations. Huiyan and I were entangled for 19 years, even after I died, the words wife of Huiyan were still engraved on my tombstone. Luo Yang, tell me why you don't want to be adopted by the Hu family, after Huiyan left with his parents. The director called me to her office. I was silent for a long time before casually finding an excuse. I don't want to leave you and everyone else. The director sighed and advised me to think about it carefully again. I knew she was doing it for my own good and hoped that I would have a good life in the future, but I didn't want to make the same mistakes again, and I didn't want to have anything to do with Huiyan anymore. However, a fire at night shattered all my plans. 3. Did you set the fire? In the hospital, I looked at Huiyan coldly and questioned him. No, Huiyan quickly explained. The fire department has already investigated and found that the fire was caused by the aging of the electrical wires. After saying this, he smiled self-deprecatingly. Yang, you think too poorly of me. In this life, I have only met him 2 or 3 times, but Huiyan's attitude towards me was indescribably familiar. I just want to help you, as long as you promise to come home with me. I will help the director pay off all the treatment expenses. The Welfare Institute caught fire last night, and the director was severely burned while trying to save us. I snorted coldly and said sarcastically, taking advantage of someone's distress, do you consider yourself a good person? Huiyan didn't explain anything for himself, he just said, Yang, it doesn't matter if you don't want to be my younger sister, you can just be fostered in the Hu family. He patiently guided me and made concessions again and again, but I became even more curious. Why do you insist on me going back to the Hu family with you? Huiyan said, because my mom misses my younger sister very much these days, and you look a lot like my younger sister. I want to take you home to keep her company. I half believed what he said. After all, Huiyan's behavior towards me was really too abnormal. I asked him, is that all? Huiyan hesitated for a moment before nodding. That's all. Although I didn't want to have anything to do with Huiyan, the director was still lying in the hospital bed. On the way back to the Hu family, Hu-sun kept talking to me, but I remained silent throughout. He probably knew that he was annoying, so he softened his tone and tried to make up for it. The Hu family can provide you with better conditions. Anyway, it's better than being in the Welfare Institute. Yang, don't blame me, I'm doing this for your own good. I'm doing this for your own good. Huiyan also said this to me in my previous life. Huiyan hated me for most of his life. It wasn't until I was on the verge of death that his attitude towards me softened a bit, but by then, I was already beyond the help of medicine, and only a kitten accompanied me every day. Once, on a whim, Huiyan suddenly came back to the villa to see me and had the cat that I had raised for half a year thrown away. I asked him, why? He looked at me disdainfully and also said, I'm doing this for your own good. At that time, I knew that when he said he was doing it for my own good, he didn't really mean it. This sentence was just an excuse for him to satisfy his own selfish desires and control. or maybe it was another way for him to torture me. After all, he had always been like this. Whatever I liked, he would destroy. As soon as the car arrived at the Hua family, we saw that Mrs. Hua was already standing at the door of the villa. Huiyan had told her in advance that he would bring me back, so she had someone clean up the room on the second floor early. Yang, this will be your room from now on. Mrs. Hua took my hand affectionately and asked, "Do you like it?" I lowered my eyes and looked at the hand held by Mrs. Hua for a moment, and then pulled it out. I was no longer the Huiyan in my previous life who longed for maternal love. Mrs. Hua, this is your biological daughter's room, right? There are a lot of her previous things in the room, and you preserved them very well. I can see that you cherish these things very much. If I live in this room, and I accidentally break these things, you will definitely be sad. I saw that there are guest rooms downstairs. I'll just live in a guest room. Mrs. Hua looked at me and was about to say something, but she was interrupted by Huiyan. Mom, Yang wants to live downstairs. Please ask the maid to clean it up. I looked at Huiyan, who was speaking up for me. He probably didn't know that the main reason I didn't want to live on the second floor was that his bedroom was next door. Before Huiyan's engagement in my previous life, I got along harmoniously with him, even during my adolescence. When Mrs. Hua asked me, Yang, what kind of boy do you like? I looked at Huiyan, who had just come back from running, and smiled. I like someone like my brother. This casual joke became the evidence that I drugged my own brother many years later. Every time I explained myself, I didn't drug you, Huiyan would choke my neck and refute me. You said you liked me when you were 16, you've liked me for so many years, and in the end, you even used the means of drugging me to force me to marry you. Why don't you dare to admit it now? 4. Probably because I was back in this villa. I dreamed of the things in my previous life at night. During the last period of my life, the doctor said, "It's not a good idea for you to stay alone like this all day. Call your family and friends to come and keep you company." I don't have any family. As for friends, my best friend before was Huiyan's fiancé, named Sujiai. Sujiai didn't return to the country until the 5th year of my marriage with Huiyan. Huiyan personally went to the airport to pick her up and organized a welcome party for her. Someone deliberately recorded a video of the party and sent it to me. The two of them were sitting in the corner, passionately kissing. I watched that video, which was only a few seconds long, over and over again throughout the night. It was also that night that I made up my mind to give up our second child and filed for divorce from Huiyan. He asked me, "What's the reason?" I showed him that video. Huiyan, I know you had no choice but to marry me back then, but now that Sujiai has come back, it seems that she has already forgiven you, so let's get a divorce and go our separate ways in the future. In fact, I had already proposed divorce to Huiyan several times before this, but he refused every time. I thought that now that Sujiai was back, he would agree this time. But Huiyan still tore up the divorce agreement I had prepared and deleted the video on my phone. Yang. I suddenly woke up and slapped Huiyan in the face. Huiyan, who looked like a teenager, looked at me with a wronged expression in his eyes. I heard you crying outside the door, so I came in to take a look. After saying this, he turned around and walked out. When he reached the door, he turned back and said, "Get up and have breakfast quickly, you'll be late for school soon." Just like in my previous life, the Hua family transferred me to Huiyan's school. When people saw me walking into the classroom behind him, someone asked him, "Huiyan, who is she?" Huiyan introduced me to them. Her name is Luo Yang, and she is currently fostered in my family. I thought vaguely of my past life. Before the drugging incident, when Huiyan introduced me to people, he always said, "My sister Huiyang." I looked at Huiyan, who was just a step away from me, and suddenly found that he seemed to be different from the Huiyan in my memory. He was neither like the Huiyan in my previous life when he was a teenager, nor like the Huiyan who always took revenge and tortured me later. My heart skipped a beat, and I suddenly thought of something. Huiyan, Ayen. Just as I called out to Huiyan and was about to ask my doubts, someone spoke up and called him at the same time as me. Huiyan looked at me and then looked up at the person behind me. I also turned around. The person standing at the door of the classroom and calling him was Sujiai. Ayen, wait for me after school, I have something to tell you. After saying this, Sujiai noticed me standing beside Huiyan. The way she looked at me wasn't friendly. She sized me up from head to toe as if in a contest. "You're the girl who is fostered in the Hua family." After all, she was my best friend in my previous life. Almost as soon as Sujiai looked at me, I felt her obvious hostility towards me. This was completely different from my previous life. In my previous life, after Sujai knew that I was Huiyan's younger sister, she affectionately took my arm, called me Yang Yang, and introduced me to her social circle, but now, her attitude towards me was very similar to the last time I saw her in my previous life. We had a very unpleasant encounter that time. I asked her. The surveillance shows that only you and I entered Huiyan's room that day. I didn't drug him, so it was you, right? At that time, I couldn't figure it out. She liked Huiyan so much, so why did she ruin their engagement banquet? Her name is Luo Yang, Huiyan answered for me. Sujai looked at me, gave a perfunctory smile, and didn't say anything more. After that, I sat in my seat, but I noticed that Sujai kept looking back at me. Even though I felt strange in my heart, I had to ignore her, look away, and force myself to listen to the teacher carefully. 5. In my previous life, I wasn't good at studying, however. Mrs. Hu didn't mind my poor grades. It seemed that the worse I did in exams, the happier Mrs. Hu became. She always said, Yang Yang is getting more and more like Nan Nan. She also didn't like studying. A parent's love for their child means planning for their long-term future. Which mother in the world would hope that her daughter is just a beautiful but useless person? Ultimately, she never really regarded me as her own daughter. To her, I was probably just a consoling toy. In this life, I don't want to be like I was in my previous life, being a stand-in for someone else's daughter in the first half of my life and ending up as a useless canary, dying in depression in the second half. So studying is my only way out. But studying isn't an easy thing either. After realizing that I really couldn't understand the knowledge in these books, I got up somewhat frustrated. Huiyan, who was talking to someone, noticed my movement. He turned his head and asked me, "Where are you going?" I replied impatiently, "To the toilet." In my memory, the girls' toilet in high school was always crowded during breaks, but today it was surprisingly empty. It wasn't until I pushed open the toilet door that I sensed something was wrong. Several girls inside almost simultaneously turned their heads and looked towards me at the door. The person closest to me was Sujai. She threw away the cigarette but in her hand glanced at the girl who was being held down on the ground and covered in dirty water by them, and then walked towards me. She smiled and said, "Just kidding with her. Just for fun. You won't tell Huiyan, will you?" I looked at the cigarette butt on the ground and suddenly realized that I never really knew Sujai. Otherwise, how could I not know that she smoked and bullied her classmates when she was in school? After thinking for a while, I said, "I'm not that familiar with Huiyan, really." Although Sujai asked this, her expression clearly softened a lot. "Aren't you living in his house?" I met her gaze and said, "Just living in his house, but not familiar." Sujai nodded. "That's good." After saying that, she quickly left with the others. After they all left, I took a look at the girl on the ground. I quickly looked away and walked into a cubicle. When I came out again, that girl was standing with her back to me next to the mop sink. She was only wearing a vest on the upper part of her body, and her original shirt was being rinsed under the faucet. Perhaps hearing the sound of me opening the door, she quickly wrung out the shirt, put it on directly, and then ran out quickly with her head down. As she passed by me, I suddenly reached out and grabbed her. The girl looked up at me in confusion. And I looked at her too. After a long silent looking, I remembered that her name was Chenling. I took off my coat and threw it to her. "Your shirt is wet." "Wear mine." Chenling lowered her head again and refused. "No need, the wet shirt is very transparent, your vest inside will be visible." My words made Chenling's ears turn bright red. She somewhat embarrassedly raised her hand to cover her chest and hesitated for a long time before taking my coat. Seeing Chenling walk into the cubicle to change clothes, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief in my heart. Actually, I'm not the kind of person who likes to meddle in other people's business. In my previous life, not long after I transferred to the school, Chenling committed suicide by jumping off a building. The school's explanation was that it was due to family factors and excessive study pressure. But now it seems that perhaps the reason for her suicide wasn't that simple, after all. It was a young life. "Thank you," Chenling thanked me after changing her clothes. The words "you're welcome" were on the tip of my tongue, but I swallowed them back. After thinking for a while, I asked Chenling, "Your grades should be very good, right?" I remembered that Chenling was the top student in the grade before she jumped off the building. She was stunned for a moment and then nodded. "Not bad, Chenling." I looked at the coat on her. "I lent you my coat." Can you help me with my studies? I didn't give her a chance to refuse at all and continued, after the quiz, we will change seats according to our grades. At that time, we can be desk mates, which will be convenient for you to help me with my studies. Chenling hesitated for a long time before agreeing to me. After school, Huyen stubbornly insisted that I go back with him in the car. As soon as I got in the car, Sujai stopped him. Ayen, can we talk? I wasn't interested in their business and didn't want to eavesdrop, but just it was very quiet here, and Sujai was emotional and spoke very loudly. Their conversation was carried by the wind and blew into my ears. Sujai asked Huyen, did you break up with me because of Luo Yang? Ayen, we've been together for so long. As soon as Luo Yang appeared, you mentioned breaking up with me. I can't think of any other reason except her. Huyan's tone was a bit helpless. It has nothing to do with anyone, Xiaoyi. I just suddenly realized that my feelings for you aren't romantic. I've always regarded you as my younger sister. In an instant, I suddenly understood why Sujai had been paying so much attention to me today and even kept looking back at me in class 6. During dinner, Mrs. Hua suddenly said, Yang, I found a piano teacher for you today, starting from tomorrow. Before she could finish speaking, she was interrupted by Huyen, Mom. Yang doesn't like the piano, don't impose your hobby on her. Mrs. Hua smiled awkwardly but didn't say anything more. I looked up at Huyen, and my suspicion in my heart was further confirmed. In this life, I've never told Huyen that I don't like the piano. The only person who knew I didn't like the piano was Huyen from my previous life. At that time, my condition deteriorated rapidly because he threw away my cat. Huyen, who couldn't stand the sight of me, actually, for the first time, put aside his work and moved back to the villa to take care of me. It happened to be our 19th wedding anniversary. Huyen gave me a Steinway piano that was airlifted to the country. Even though I said, I don't like the piano, I used to learn it just because Mom liked it. Huyen just gave me a set of jewelry as a supplementary gift that night. He suddenly seemed like a different person, being meticulous and patient with me. How do you know Yang doesn't like the piano, Mrs. Hua was persistent and asked me again, Yang, do you want to learn the piano? I quickly gathered my thoughts and refused her with a smile. Aunt Hua, I still need to study. I really don't have time to learn the piano. After dinner, I was about to go back to my room to rest when Huyen stopped me. Yang, after the quiz tomorrow, we will choose seats according to our grades. Where do you want to sit? Seeing that I didn't speak, Huyen continued, is the 5th row by the window okay? This was the seat I always sat in when I was studying in my previous life. Huyen looked at me with eager eyes, expecting my response. I looked at him deeply and casually said, whatever. My perfunctory answer made Huyen extremely excited. Until the next day, he watched me bypass him and sit next to Chenling. Luo Yang, Huyen called me in public. He twitched the corners of his mouth and asked me, did you get the wrong seat? No. Huyen stood there awkwardly. It was a long time before he silently sat down. Weren't you the first to choose a seat? Why did you choose here? I couldn't help but complain to Chenling. The seat Chenling chose was really bad. In the first row in the middle, I'm nearsighted. I can't see the blackboard if I sit too far away. She usually doesn't wear glasses. Seeing that I was skeptical, Chenling frankly explained, I don't have extra money, so I didn't get glasses. Oh, I pouted. I thought you were afraid that someone would sit next to you, so you deliberately chose this really bad seat and left it for me. Chenling looked up from the test paper and told me very frankly, you're overthinking. Whether I was overthinking or not, after school at noon, I still dragged Chenling to the glasses store outside the school and forcefully bought her a pair of glasses. I said it nicely. If you can't see the blackboard and your grades regress, who will help me with my studies? Consider this pair of glasses as my tuition for you. Anyway, I was using Huyen's money. He owed me so much. What's wrong with spending a little of his money? Originally, I just wanted to buy a pair of glasses for Chenling, but unexpectedly, I made her cry. When being bullied by Sujai and the others, Chenling didn't shed a single tear, but when I put the glasses on her, she burst into tears. Chenling kept choking and saying, Luo Yang, I will definitely pay you back when I have money in the future. It was not easy to comfort her. When we returned to the classroom, we were stopped by Huyen in the stairwell. He questioned me, why didn't you choose the seat we agreed on? Who agreed with you? I impatiently asked him, Huyen, did I promise you anything? Huyen immediately fell silent. He looked at me for a long time before speaking again. Yang, why is everything different? Are you also I smiled and looked back at him. Also what? Unfortunately, Huyen didn't answer me, but the fact that he stopped me in the stairwell reached Sujiai's ears. After class, Sujiai came over in person to warn me, stay away from Huyen. Out of concern, Chenling also advised me, Luo Yang, you'd better stay away from Huyen, try not to have any contact with him. To convince me, she also took the initiative to tell me the reason why she was bullied by Sujiai before. Huyen just asked me a question once, and Sujiai said I was trying to seduce him. Yang, Sujiai is not someone to be trifled with. I'm afraid she'll cause trouble for you. I wished I could stay away from Huyen, but he was like a clingy ghost. He would always suddenly appear beside me at unexpected times. I silently sighed, putting down the exercise book in my hand. I reached out and hugged Chenling, who looked worried, and comforted her. Don't worry. However, Chenling's worry soon came true. 7. Let's talk. Sujiai stopped me in the corridor. I originally wanted to refuse, but seeing the undisguised hatred for me in her eyes, I suddenly changed my mind. Okay, in this life, Sujiai's attitude towards me was so different. Sometimes I also wondered if, like me and Huyen, she had also been reborn. What do you want to talk about? I took 2 steps towards her and asked her. Sujiai didn't speak. When the voices in the stairwell got louder and louder, she turned her head and glanced at me. She said contemptuously, nothing. If you weren't living in the Hua family, you wouldn't even have the right to talk to me. As soon as she finished speaking, she fell straight backwards. Huyen, who was coming upstairs, happened to see the scene of her falling. Luo Yang, why did you push me? Sujiai cried and questioned me. Her words made the surrounding classmates who didn't know the situation cast blameful glances at me. Huyen frowned and didn't speak. He looked up at me standing in the corridor, and then asked several boys to take Sujiai to the hospital. When Sujiai left, she was still crying to Huyen. Yen, my leg hurts so much. Will I never be able to dance again in the future? Huyen comforted her a few words and watched her leave. After everyone had dispersed, Huyen walked up to me. He looked down at me and his first words were, go and apologize to Xiaoyi. Why should I apologize? She fell by herself. Huyen let out a deep sigh. Xiaoyi studies dance. Are you saying that she used her own leg and her own future to frame you? Yang, I know you hate Xiaoyi, but that's all. He suddenly realized something and didn't continue. I sneered and deliberately asked him, all what? Huyen, I just transferred to this school and I don't have any conflict with Sujiai. Why don't you tell me why I would hate her? Huyen looked at me in silence. The more he tried his best to hide the fact that he had been reborn, the more I wanted to expose him. Because you know that I was reborn just like you, right? You know that Sujiai did a lot of things to hurt me in my previous life. You think I hate her, so I would take revenge on her and push her downstairs, right? I thought that since I had said so much, he would at least be more honest. But Huyen's lips moved for a long time, and finally he was still denying it. What you said, I don't understand, but if you do something wrong, you should apologize. Come with me and apologize to Xiaoyi. Okay, I was so angry that I laughed. Huyen, you're still the same, even if you live a new life, you're still a coward who only knows how to deceive himself. He doesn't dare to face the mistakes he made in his previous life, so he also doesn't dare to admit that he has been reborn. My words made Huyen's pupils tremble violently, but soon, he turned his head and no longer looked at me. I'm going to see how Xiaoyi is. After saying that, he quickly turned around. I don't know if he was really worried about Sujiai or just wanted to escape from me as soon as possible, but I couldn't let him go so easily. I took a few steps and caught up with him. Since you think I pushed her, of course I have to go and see her. By the way, let her think carefully again whether it was really me who pushed her. 8. When Huyen and I arrived at the hospital, Sujiai's leg had already been put in a cast. She was lying on the hospital bed and started crying as soon as she saw Huyen. The doctor said my leg is seriously injured. I'm so scared. Seeing me enter the door behind Huyen, she turned her head and questioned me again. Luo Yang, why did you push me? You know I study dance, my legs can't be injured. I listened quietly as she finished speaking and then smiled and asked her, Sujiai, are you sure it was me who pushed you downstairs? At that time, there were only the 2 of us. If it wasn't you, who else could it be? She was emotional and acted very realistically. I've been studying dance since I was a child. Do you know how much I cherish these legs? You've ruined me. My parents won't let you go. Luo Yang, just wait to be expelled from school. Huiyan patted Sujiai's back soothingly and turned around to order me again. Yang, apologize. I ignored him. I just looked at Sujiai and continued, you think there's no surveillance in the stairwell, so you can slander me, right, Sujiai? I suggest you find someone to look carefully again, see if there's any surveillance nearby that you didn't notice. Sujiai's face froze for a moment. I saw the subtle expression of hers. Sujiai wasn't reborn. Because a reborn Sujiai couldn't not know that the surveillance on the opposite teaching building could capture that area. I was a bit disappointed. I was about to leave. Huiyan originally planned to leave with me, but Sujiai stopped him and said, Ayen, my leg hurts so much, can you stay with me? Huiyan glanced at Sujiai and then called out to me, Yang, wait for me outside for a while, only a fool would wait for him. I walked out of the hospital without looking back. Yang. As soon as I got back to school, I was stopped by Chenling behind me. She was out of breath as she handed a USB drive to me. What's this? Chenling took several deep breaths before saying, I heard from my classmates about what happened between you and Sujiai. There's no surveillance in the corridor to prove your innocence. I searched for a long time and finally found the surveillance on the opposite teaching building, which just happened to capture what happened between you at that time. Sujiai's father is one of the shareholders of the school. I was afraid they would delete the surveillance, so I rushed to the surveillance room and secretly made a copy of it. Instantly, a warm current welled up in my heart. I affectionately took Chenling's arm and acted coquettishly with her. Chenling, you're so good to me. Chenling adjusted the glasses on her nose. Even though she tried her best to hide it, I still noticed that the tips of her ears were completely red. She somewhat unnaturally suppressed the corners of her mouth and pretended to be cold, saying, hurry back to the classroom, the midterm exam is coming soon, you have to focus on your studies. It's a pity that the surveillance that Chenling went to so much trouble to copy for me wasn't needed. At night, Sujiai was sneaking around in the corridor looking for the surveillance, and she was caught red-handed by Huiyan and me, who happened to return to school to get something. Before I could say anything, Huiyan had already walked up and asked her, what are you doing at school alone so late at night? Sujiai mumbled for a long time but couldn't come up with a suitable excuse. I couldn't stand to see her embarrassed, so I kindly spoke for her. Of course she's not at ease. So she came back to look for the surveillance. I also thoughtfully pointed to the teaching building opposite for her. The surveillance you're looking for is over there, and it can just capture this area. But it may be too late for you to delete the surveillance now because I've already made a copy. Sujiai, I'm asking you again, did I push you? Sujiai bit her lip. She looked at Huiyan but found that Huiyan was staring at her casted leg at the moment, with a cast on. You can still come to school alone. Sujiai was so anxious that she was about to cry. She explained incoherently and finally had to admit, Ayen, I'm sorry, I was so scared at that time that I thought it was Luo Yang who pushed me. Actually, I accidentally fell down by myself. Huiyan shook her off with a cold face and left straight away. The next day, under my threat, Sujiai admitted in front of the whole class that she had fallen down by herself. 9. In the second semester of our sophomore year of high school, Chenling and I applied to live on campus together. She did it because her aunt had to leave the local area due to work and was worried about leaving her alone at home. I did it because I was fed up with Huiyan's false attentions. In this life, I don't have a deep relationship with the Hui couple, and they just asked a few questions before agreeing. Only Huiyan strongly opposed it. He asked me, why do you have to live on campus? While packing my things, I replied to him impatiently and perfunctorily, it's convenient to live on campus, and I can study better. Huiyan didn't say anything more, and it was quiet behind me for a long time. Just when I thought Huiyan had left, I heard him suddenly say, you want to stay away from me, right, Yang? I really thought we could start over, but you won't forgive me, you still hate me. I turned around and looked at Huiyan, and deliberately asked him leisurely. Why should I hate you, Huiyan? You're so strange. You said I hated Sujiai before, and now you say I hate you. Huiyan looked at me for a long time. He slowly closed his eyes, then opened them again, and twitched the corners of his mouth. As expected, you still hate me, Yang. Can you forget the things in the previous life? Can't we start over? I looked at him disdainfully and sneered, aren't you pretending anymore? But Huiyan seemed not to see my obvious disgust. He continued talking to himself, Yang, since God has given us a chance to start over, let's forget the things in the previous life and start over. Okay, Huiyan is really extremely despicable. I suppressed the anger in my heart and looked at him disdainfully. Huiyan, in the previous life, The one who was hurt wasn't you, and the one who lost everything wasn't you either. So you can easily say that we should forget those hurts and start over, but why should I forget? And why should I start over with you? The person who inflicted the harm can easily say sorry, and with just these 3 simple words, he attempts to erase all the harm the victim has suffered and obtain forgiveness. He really has high hopes, but Huiyan still didn't give up. Yang, I'll make up for everything you lost in the previous life in this life. Okay, before my engagement in the previous life, you said that you thought you were the happiest little girl in the world. As long as you're willing to let go, in this life, you can be good friends with Sujai just like at that time, and we won't be siblings anymore. Mom and Dad won't object to us being together. We'll get married after graduating from university. Mom and Dad will love you as their own daughter, and we can live a happy life together. Yang, you can still be the happiest little girl in the world. Let's start over. Okay. I refused him with a cold face. No. I can't be friends with Sujai in this life, and I definitely won't marry you. Huiyan, when will you stop deceiving yourself? I'm not deceiving myself, Huiyan stubbornly retorted me. Yang, nothing is impossible. There was a crazy glint in his eyes. Huiyan is a paranoid and unreasonable madman. I don't know what methods he used. Soon, Sujai also started living on campus and was even assigned to the dormitory where Chenling and I were. She took the initiative to show her friendliness to us several times, but both Chenling and I ignored her. Until the day before the final exam, Chenling and I were reviewing in the dormitory when Sujai suddenly rushed in and shouted at us with tears in her eyes. Why do you guys hate me so much? I've already apologized to you, and I've been trying to please you. What exactly do you want? It's my birthday today, but I have to endure your cold looks in this lousy dormitory. I begged my mom to pick me up, but Huiyan wouldn't let her. He forced me to be friends with you. I don't want to be friends with you at all. I hate you so much. Since I was sensible, my mom has asked me to please Huiyan and make him like me so that I can marry him in the future. I've been trying very hard to do these things, but why did all my previous efforts go to waste as soon as you, Luo Yang, appeared? Chenling and I looked at each other. Watching Sujai sitting on the ground crying hysterically, Chenling pulled me and we left the dormitory. She asked me, do you think I'm too cold towards Sujai? I shook my head and told her, she bullied you. It's your right to treat her however you want. No one can ask you to forgive someone who has hurt you. In my opinion, Chenling is kind enough, at least when she left the dormitory. She threw a pack of tissues to Sujai who was crying. After that day, Sujai became even weirder. She started pestering Chenling and me by any means. She applied to the teacher to change her seat and sat behind me. Sujai created an illusion that we were good friends. She said, I've made up my mind. I want to study hard with you guys in the future. And I hope I can even go to the same university as you. So she often asked me to teach her how to solve problems. Yang, please teach me. Sujai's tone made me vaguely think of things in the previous life. At that time, I was her best friend. Every time Sujai acted coquettishly with me, she used the same tone. Chenling secretly asked me, has Sujai really changed for the better? Maybe. I looked at Sujai who was walking towards us not far away. I softly said to Chenling, but I still think it's impossible for a person's personality to change suddenly. No one suddenly becomes bad, and no one suddenly becomes good either. 10 Such days continued until the end of the college entrance examination. Just as Huiyan said, he was really trying his best to make up for what he owed me in the previous life and was gradually retrieving the things I had lost before. Thanks to Sujai's one-sided efforts, my relationship with her did ease up a bit. The Hua couple also treated me better and better. After the college entrance examination, they even specially picked me up and took me back to the Hua family and said they would throw an 18th birthday party for me. Sujai, who came to the Hua family to find me, learned about this. She volunteered. I also want to contribute to Yang's birthday party. Huiyan smiled and nodded in agreement. Okay, you're Yang's best friend. If you're willing to help, Yang will definitely be very happy. After saying that, Huiyan looked at me meaningfully. Yang. Your relationship with Xiaoyi is getting better and better now. As expected, nothing is impossible. I knew what he meant by that, but I just smiled and didn't refute him. On my birthday, Huiyan gave me a wristwatch worth more than 3 million yuan. I didn't refuse and happily accepted it. After all, my fostering relationship with the Hua family would only last until I turned 18. There would be many places where I needed money after leaving the Hua family, since he was willing to give it. I had no reason not to accept it. The Hua family had great influence in Beijing, even for my birthday party, many celebrities and influential people came. There were also some classmates from my class who were invited by Sujai. I only invited Chenling. This birthday party was so grand and magnificent that Chenling and I felt a bit out of place. We hid in the backyard together. What are your plans for the summer vacation? Chenling took small sips of juice and softly replied to me. I plan to work during the summer vacation and at least earn enough money for my freshman year's living expenses. I rubbed the watch on my wrist and asked her to take me with her. Before I could finish speaking, I suddenly heard a scream coming from inside the villa. When Chenling and I rushed to the second floor, Huiyan and Sujai had already dressed themselves. But the ambiguous marks on their bodies and the messy bed in the bedroom made it easy to guess what had happened between them in this room before. Uncle Hua slapped Huiyan in the face in front of all the guests. Doing such a thing, don't you have any shame? Sujai stood in front of Huiyan and cried to plead for him. Uncle, don't blame Huiyan. For a moment, the Hua family was in chaos. Huiyan saw me standing behind the crowd. He tried to come over and explain something to me, but was stopped by Sujai's parents. Huiyan, you can't leave, you have to give us an explanation. This party ended prematurely in the end. At around 10 o'clock at night, the people from the Su family left the Hua family. Presumably, the two families had already reached an agreement on the solution. They all had smiles on their faces when they left and spoke politely. When I was going back to my room to sleep and passed by the study, I happened to hear Uncle Hua say to Aunt Hua, let them get engaged in a few days. You start preparing for the engagement banquet in advance. At night, Huiyan knocked on my door. I pretended not to hear. The next day, when I was about to go out to work during the summer vacation with Chenling, I was stopped by Huiyan. He explained to me, I don't know what happened yesterday. I was drugged. Oh, I smiled and looked at him. Were you drugged by someone else? Or did you drug yourself? Huiyan's eyes showed a look of pain. How could I drug myself? Why not? I said sarcastically. Huiyan, didn't you drug yourself in the previous life, ruin my innocence, and then make me take the blame? In the previous life, I always thought that it was Sujai who drugged Huiyan. It wasn't until I was on the verge of death that Huiyan confessed to me. He said, Yang, what could I do? I like you. I actually like my own sister. I thought that if I did this, Mom and Dad would agree to let me marry you. But I didn't expect my dad to be so angry that he died because of it. Yang, if it wasn't for liking you, I wouldn't have extremely annoyed my father, and I wouldn't have lived my whole life in guilt, not even having the courage to see my mother. Yang, you're also at fault, so you should stay with me in hell. As he said that, he suddenly hugged me tightly. Yang, don't leave me. I was wrong. I really was wrong. I shouldn't have bullied you in the previous life. Huiyan deceived others and also deceived himself. He could even shift all the blame for drugging onto me to numb himself and make himself feel better. He has always been a coward who deceives himself, whether in the previous life or this life. I'm sorry. Huiyan asked me to forgive him in a hoarse voice. I'm sorry for you in the previous life. Yang, I really know I was wrong. Can you forgive me? But I really didn't drug myself this time. Please believe me. He tried to reach out and pull me, but I dodged as if I thought he was dirty. When I turned around and walked out, I heard Huiyan still saying, Yang, I'll cancel the engagement with Sujai, wait for me. I left straight away without looking back. 11 When the university was about to start, Chenling came to the Hua family's residence to help me move my belongings. The couple of the Hua family returned to their previous cold attitude towards me when they heard that I was going to move out. They just casually said a few polite words. Everything was going smoothly at first, but unexpectedly, Huiyan came home early. He stopped me and asked, my parents agreed to let you move out. When he saw me nodding, he still couldn't believe it. It's impossible. My parents said they like you very much and have always treated you as their own daughter. Wait, I'll go and ask them. While he was going into the house, Chenling and I had already left with our things. After leaving the residential compound, we ran into Sujai. Sujai no longer greeted us as she used to, nor did she deliberately try to please Chenling and me. I thought that originally she should have no intention of paying attention to us, but for some reason, she suddenly turned back and called out to me, Luo Yang, didn't you really think that I wanted to be friends with you before? To be honest, if it weren't for Huiyan's request, I wouldn't even give you a second glance. Probably because she and Huiyan were already engaged, Sujia even leaned close to my ear and told me her secret. Actually, it was me who drugged Huyen on your birthday. I glanced at Sujia and truly thought from the bottom of my heart that she and Huyen were a perfect match. They could even come up with such a disgusting method together. I will marry him in the future and become a member of the Hua family. Luo Yang, actually I don't like Huyen that much either, but I have no choice. My parents really want to form an alliance with the Hua family through marriage. Sujia told me in a boastful tone about how many benefits there would be in marrying Huyen, but I remained indifferent throughout. No one knows better than me how painful it is to marry someone like Huyen. After parting with Sujia, Chenling suddenly said, Yang, you're right. No one suddenly becomes bad. And no one suddenly becomes good either, she sighed and said, fortunately, we didn't fall for it. 4 years later, after graduating from undergraduate studies, neither Chenling nor I chose to pursue a master's degree. We started our own business. On my 18th birthday, Huyen gave me an expensive wristwatch for children in the Welfare Institute. Being adopted is a stroke of luck. Thanks to our good luck in recent years and some memories from my previous life, Chenling and I have managed our company very successfully. I met Huyen again at the bidding site. Over the years, I have also heard more or less gossip about him and Sujia. They got divorced not long after they got married. At first, Sujia didn't agree to the divorce, but Huyen always had various means. She was terribly tortured and finally had to compromise. After the bidding ended, Huyen caught up with me in the parking lot. He was at a loss and after pondering for a long time, he only said one sentence, I'm sorry, Yang. I glanced at him, if you really feel sorry for me, then withdraw from the bidding. Huyen paused for a moment and actually agreed, okay, even so, I wouldn't take it seriously. Huyen is extremely selfish. His sorry has always been just words. When it comes to matters related to interests, Huyen is more clear-headed than anyone else. I briefly told Chenling about today's bidding situation on the phone. Chenling sighed and said, since the Hua family is also participating, do we have no hope? I said, that's not necessarily the case. The Hua family has even resorted to competing with our company that has only been established for a few years. This just shows that the Hua family is really on the verge of collapse. Just wait, this time we're almost certain to succeed. She heaved a sigh of relief and said, I feel relieved when you say that. Chenling trusts me very much. She will always trust me. Story 2. Everyone knew I was completely devoted to Jiang Wang. I took a knife for him, gave up everything, and lost all dignity for him. But when I was kidnapped, Jiang Wang mistakenly thought it was a trap I set to harm his beloved. He let the kidnappers punish me, his face mocking. Wen Qiao, stop your act, you disgust me. Only later did I realize I had mistaken the person, going back to before the college entrance exams. In front of everyone's astonished gazes, I stopped that unruly young man without hesitation. Jang Yi, I've come to see you. Jiang Wang stared at me intensely, his expression turning to despair. So you were never really concerned about me. When the kidnapper forced Jiang Wang to choose, he chose to save his beloved. That was within my expectations, protecting his pitiful beloved in his arms. Jiang Wang's impatience grew when he looked at me. Wen Qiao, have you had enough of your act? Get lost if you're done acting. It's truly nauseating. Even though the knife the kidnapper held at my neck was already drawing blood, Jiang Wang was convinced that this kidnapping scenario was a setup by me, all because his beloved said lightly, they were too gentle with Miss Wen. When she said this, she deliberately turned her head to show the slap mark on her face. That slap mark was made by the kidnappers half an hour before Jiang Wang arrived. Under her command, Jiang Wang believed it, since Mr. Jiang has made his choice. This one is left for the brothers, said the kidnapper leader with a malicious grin. In front of Jiang Wang, he began tearing my clothes. Jiang Wang paused for a moment, but soon, he acted as if nothing happened. Wen Qiao, his tone cold, I don't have time to play house with you, but since you want to act, you could have made it more realistic. How could I believe this performance otherwise? Jiang Wang looked at me, his eyes filled with familiar scorn. Jiang Wang, I called him. Suddenly smiling, I think I made a mistake. Everyone knew I was utterly devoted to Jiang Wang, so devoted that I had no dignity. At his beck and call, even though Jiang Wang was sick of me, I could rush out in the middle of the night because of a phone call only to be mocked by Jiang Wang's friends as just like a dog. I would also prepare a banquet for Jiang Wang when I was sick, even though it was a celebration for his beloved. Until, in his study, I saw a photo. Jiang Wang had a twin brother unknown to others. He died at 17, staring at the photo with the wildly written Yi. I felt as if I had made a mistake, so I spent much effort investigating Jang Yi, but the information I found was scarce. All I knew was that Jang Yi was accused of attempted assault on a girl at 17. The Jiang family felt humiliated and suppressed all news. Along with erasing the existence of Jang Yi, I instinctively didn't believe it, but before I could find the truth, I was kidnapped. Jiang Wang didn't react immediately. After a while, he sneered, "How odd. I thought you believed everything you did was right." Jiang Wang despised me, largely because I was placed by his parents to be by his side. He felt my presence was a form of surveillance, and a humiliation. Only this one thing. The pain in my body was becoming numb. Jiang Wang's beloved wasn't easy to deal with. She instructed the men to hit where the clothes covered. I swallowed the taste of iron in my throat and said softly, "Only this one thing I did wrong." Jiang Wang laughed out loud. He seemed to want to say more, but his gaze suddenly froze, because the kidnappers, following their orders, threw me, bound hand and foot, off the boat. This probably wasn't anticipated by Jiang Wang. In the second before being thrown overboard, I vaguely saw Jiang Wang rushing towards me, but it didn't matter anymore. I seemed to have been reborn. I stared blankly at the washed-out, ill-fitting clothes on my body. Pale and slender hands, covered with calluses, were forcefully dragging me along. During the years I spent with Jiang Wang, I had taken great care of my hands, and they were free from any calluses, accompanied by familiar insults. "What's the use of a girl reading books? I think you've been led astray, thinking your wings are strong enough to fly. What can you achieve by reading? In the end, you'll just end up benefiting someone else. The match arranged by your family is not bad. Why reject it? I'm telling you, I've already taken the money. Even if you don't want to marry, you have to, for your brother needs that money to buy a house." I was momentarily stunned, forgetting to struggle, letting the woman who was nominally my mother drag me several meters across the ground. My thin clothes were worn through, scraping large patches of blood. The pain snapped me back to reality, and I instinctively tried to break free. "Let me go." However, my malnourished body was no match for a woman accustomed to farm work. Dark memories I had almost managed to forget, along with a deep-seated fear, quickly overwhelmed me. I gritted my teeth to suppress a scream, pulling back with one hand while the other fumbled in my backpack. I always kept a utility knife in my backpack. Just as I grasped the utility knife, a flamboyant voice from my memories rang out, "Damn, are human traffickers this bold now, starting to snatch decent girls in broad daylight?" It was a familiar tone, familiar words. I stared dazedly at the backlit figure of the boy, feeling inexplicably distressed. In my previous life, it was the same. There were few people on this road during the lunch break. My mother had tricked me into coming out, then tried to forcefully take me back. But Jang Yi appeared and stopped her. He gave my mother some money, asking her not to disturb my studies. Later, when I couldn't afford school, it was a company that sponsored me. The owner of that company was surnamed Jiang. Really, the hair. Jiang Yi opened his mouth, saw my mother's short hair, and abruptly changed his words. "Short, just like her insight." Impatiently, he pulled out a wallet from his school uniform pocket and took out a stack of money. "Isn't it just money you want? Here. Take this and don't disturb her studies anymore." My mother was immediately overjoyed. She counted the money with saliva, then shamelessly pretended to be in a difficult position. "Young master, this amount isn't quite enough." Jiang Yi clicked his tongue. The 16 or 17-year-old boy, tall and striking, naturally attracted a lot of attention. He took off the ring on his finger intending to throw it to my mother. "Exchange this then." My mother, grinning, reached out to catch it. But I snatched it away first. Her face darkened, and she raised her hand as if to hit me. "You ungrateful girl." But she did not strike, because my utility knife was pointed at her. "That man only gave you 1,000 for the bride price," I said breathlessly, glaring at her. "This stack is at least 2,000, that's enough. 1,000 for a bride price, and he thinks he can get a wife. What kind of fool is he?" Jiang Yi spoke disdainfully. He subtly moved closer to me, effectively blocking my mother from approaching. I tightened my grip on the utility knife, expressionless. "If you keep being unreasonable, I don't mind going down together. Aren't you most concerned about your beloved son?" Perhaps the desperate resolution in my eyes frightened my mother. She dared not ask for the ring again, muttering a few dirty words before fleeing like a scared animal. I kept holding the utility knife until my mother's figure had completely disappeared. Until Jang Yi suddenly chuckled, patted my head lightly, his tone teasing, "You look so frail, yet you dare to pull out a knife, what? At such a young age you think you can kill?" I remained silent, just quietly put away the utility knife, then quietly stared at Jang Yi. He looked exactly like the Jiang Wang I knew, only much younger. The only slight difference was a small black mole on the tip of Jiang Yi's nose. "But you wouldn't notice unless you looked closely. What are you staring at me for?" Jiang Yi touched his nose uncomfortably, exaggeratedly hard. "You're not admitting that you dared to kill, are you?" I still didn't answer, so Jiang Yi paused, then muttered softly. Jiang Yi didn't return to school, instead aimlessly wandering the streets. I followed Jiang Yi, until he gradually became impatient. "What? Are you going to the men's bathroom too?" He deliberately emphasized the words men's bathroom. My eyes landed on the school uniform tied around his waist. And I asked irrelevantly, "Why aren't you in class? It wasn't lunch break anymore. Why aren't you?" Jiang Yi retorted with a laugh. I took a leave. He was momentarily speechless, his expression turning sour. I thought Jiang Yi would get angry, but he just raised his hand to ruffle his hair and then pointed at me. I was confused. "Brother here is going to rescue poor girls like you," he said with great earnestness. "Studying would only slow down my pace of becoming a world hero." It was quite melodramatic, completely different from Jiang Wang, but I still mistook him for someone else. In an instant, an indescribable despair and sadness overwhelmed me, making it hard to breathe. My figure wavered, startling Jiang Yi. "What's wrong, young lady? What's your name?" I heard my own voice, hoarse. I grabbed Jiang Yi's arm. The youth was slender, but his forearms were surprisingly muscular. "Jiang." I saw him form the word Wang with his lips, so I interrupted. "I need to know your name so I can find the right person to repay later." "Right." I had intended to return a ring to Jiang Yi, but he refused. "It's just a useless ornament to me." Jiang Yi tossed the ring into my backpack without a second glance. "But it might be worth some money. Unlike you, I'm not short on cash." That gave me an excuse to repay him. I stared at Jiang Yi unblinkingly until he looked away, uncomfortable. "You're surprisingly strong for a young lady," he suddenly laughed. Then effortlessly broke free from my grip. "Do you really want to repay me?" "Yes, that little thing is just a metal ring, but it's somewhat valuable. There will come a day when I can afford it." "You're really stubborn," Jiang Yi muttered under his breath, but he quickly smiled, patted my head, and said, "All right then, remember this, Jiang Yi. My name is Jiang Yi." After telling me his name, Jiang Yi refused to say much more. On the way back, I tried to strike up a conversation with him. But every time I tried to learn more about him, he skillfully changed the topic. His face always bore that carefree, heartless smile, so I had to temporarily give up. "You're really good at studying." At the school gate, Jiang Yi suddenly blurted out this seemingly random remark. I didn't catch on at first and just nodded in response before looking up at him, then realizing belatedly, "You know me. The top student who always outperforms Jiang Wang, Wen Xiao." Jiang Yi grinned. "I know you." I had many more questions for Jiang Yi, but the school guard had spotted us and shouted, "What are those two students doing outside during class time? Are you skipping class to go on a date?" "No." I instinctively turned to explain to the guard, but just as I began to speak, I felt a faint voice near my ear, accompanied by the fresh scent of the young man. He whispered, "Keep it up, I'm counting on you to deflate that smug kid." Jiang Yi hummed a laugh, then turned and ran off before the guard could reach us. He didn't look back, but it was as if he knew I was watching him. He casually waved his hand behind him. The afternoon sun shone on his hair, casting a hint of red amidst the black. I thought I saw it wrong, but he quickly disappeared into the shadows around the corner. "Where's the other boy?" "Not from our school. You young people these days." The guard came over, his voice droning on as he lectured. I stood there quietly listening, but paused when my hand, slipping into my pocket, touched something hard. It was Jiang Yi's ring. After confirming it was his, I sneakily put it back when he wasn't paying attention. I already owed Jiang Yi too much. "We need to keep moving forward." His carefree voice seemed to echo in my ears again. It must have been then that he slipped the ring back into the pocket of my school uniform. The incessant chatter of the gatekeeper uncle continued. I gripped the ring tightly, my lips tugging into a small smile. Well, having too many debts is pretty much the same as having a few. For me, returning to high school was not a joyful occasion. The oppression from my family, the strange looks from classmates, bullying, and teachers' favoritism. These were enough to once make me collapse into my own little world, filled with inferiority, until I met Jiang Yi. Until I met Jiang Yi again, why is it you again? Jang Yi, cigarette in mouth, looked at me somewhat surprised and clicked his tongue. Maybe you should visit a temple one day, your forehead looks dark, seems like bad luck sticks to you, he said meaningfully. Behind Jang Yi, several girls brought by his thuggish followers trembled in fear. I quietly picked up my books that were scattered in the mud and had been stepped on several times. Just like in my previous life, these people still took pleasure in bullying me, and just like before, Jang Yi would appear to rescue me. The difference, perhaps, was that I wasn't knocked unconscious this time, and Jang Yi didn't leave immediately after taking me to the hospital. He scratched his head and squatted down to help me pick up my books. I'm serious, Jang Yi smirked. Both times I see you, you're being bullied. Don't you really want to go pray? I know a temple that's quite efficacious. He started laughing at his own joke. You know, I really feel like a hero saving the beauty right now. Brother Yi, you're the hero, but this girl hardly counts as a beauty. One of the followers couldn't help but interject. Always you with the unnecessary comments, Jang Yi cursed. He was about to comfort me, but upon seeing my dry hair and ill-fitting old-school uniform, he fell into an awkward silence. Finally, he turned stiffly to his follower. Got a tissue or handkerchief? Brother Yi, didn't you say carrying those things makes one look effeminate? Jang Yi choked. He glanced instinctively at the pale-faced girls, then disdainfully shifted his gaze. Forget it, using theirs would be unlucky. With a cold snort, Jang Yi simply raised his sleeve to wipe the mud off the books before handing them to me. He didn't care at all about staining his expensive jacket. See if the notes in the book are still usable. The hand that passed me the book was slender and fair, though the fingertips were somehow smeared with dirt. I suddenly remembered, in my previous life when I woke up in the hospital, the stack of books that had been carefully dried and placed close to my bed. Jang Yi, I snapped back to reality, not opening the book but instead looking up at Jang Yi, restraining the tremble in my voice. I can't find you. I can't find Jang Yi. Aside from knowing his name and that he is Jiang Wang's older brother, I really don't know much about Jang Yi. I remember the school uniform tied around his waist that day, which was the standard issue for Yizhong. But Yizhong had no Jang Yi, only Jiang Wang, and Jang Yi would die silently in his 17th year, that very year. But I can't find Jang Yi, not in my past life, nor in this one. Such realization instinctively made me panic, so I decided to take a gamble. I followed these girls, listening to their unreserved insults and ridicule, watching as my backpack was torn off and the books inside mercilessly trampled upon. Jang Yi appeared. He raised an eyebrow, looking at me with disdain and speechlessness. Why is it you again? Jang Yi was taken aback by my words. It was almost a reflex. You can't beat me. As soon as the words left his mouth, Jiang Ye's younger brother couldn't help but burst out laughing. Realizing his reaction, he coughed awkwardly and hastily stuffed the book into my hands. He pointed at himself, am a typical small-time thug. Then pointing at me, he added, you are a top student who could outperform Jiang Wang in the unified exams. It makes no sense for you to hang out with me. Jang Yi started laughing himself as he spoke. It was only when he met my silent gaze that his smile gradually faded. Wait, are you serious? Jiang Yi's tone grew frantic. I even heard him mutter under his breath, I'm doomed. If Mr. Du finds out you want to follow me, he'll chop me in half. Mr. Du was my homeroom teacher in my freshman year, and the only teacher who was truly kind to me. Jiang Yi knew Mr. Du. It's even possible that he had a good relationship with him. I quietly noted this and then called out to him, Jiang Yi, what? I smiled at him and then walked up to the girl who was leading the group. A series of crisp slaps rang out. Everyone, including Jang Yi, was stunned. Only the girl started screaming hysterically. There's a fruit knife in my backpack, I said calmly, continuing, I actually have nothing, so I'm not afraid of losing anything. Jiang Wang once called me a calm maniac. Once, a man was slashing people randomly on the street while Jiang Wang was out shopping with his newfound love who had just returned from abroad. I took a hit for Jiang Wang, and used that incident to subdue the attacker. Jiang Wang was terrified at that moment, his hands trembling as he covered my wound. Maniac, he cursed me, his eyes red. No matter how calm you pretend to be normally, you're still a maniac at heart. I didn't say anything, just looked at Jiang Wang and smiled. At that time, I treated Jiang Wang as if he were Jiang Yi, so I had to protect him. He was right all along. I am indeed a maniac. Are you scared? I looked at the girl who had suddenly shut up and gave her a reassuring smile. There's nothing to be afraid of, after all. I haven't had the chance yet. Fuck. Jiang Yi was the first to jump up. He cursed under his breath and without another word, he pulled me to his side, away from the girl. Then he looked down and asked me, "Where did you get the knife? Didn't I take away your utility knife? That ring you gave me could buy many." Jang Yi was taken aback, his expression turning more ferocious as he raised his voice. "Did I give you that thing to go buy knives? So, Jang Yi, I'm not the good student you think I am." I looked up at Jang Yi. Long ago, when my parents wouldn't allow me to go to school and I was bullied repeatedly, the thread of sanity within me was always taut, so taut that even a single straw could break it completely. My utility knife has always been with me, so, the Jang Yi of my past life would never know what a great thing he had inadvertently done. "So, Jang Yi," I licked my somewhat dry lips, cautiously grabbing a small piece of Jang Yi's shirt, "can I follow you?" I had followed Jiang Wang numerous times, but this only made him dislike me more. I wanted to follow Jang Yi, I wanted to protect him, but I didn't want him to hate me. So I quickly let go of Jang Yi's shirt and waited quietly for his judgment. Jang Yi's younger brother gasped repeatedly, then there was some cheering, but Jang Yi remained silent, until after a long moment, 3 strikes, he bent down to pick up my backpack, took out the fruit knife from it, and clicked his tongue, but after a glance, Jang Yi stuffed it back in, along with the books he had cleaned, then he handed them all back to me. He said, "The third time we meet, I will give you my answer." Perhaps shocked by my actions that day, Jang Yi had his subordinates take turns following me until they saw me safely home before they left. Thanks to the money Jang Yi gave, my mother was somewhat pacified for a while, though she would occasionally yell in a high-pitched voice, "The little beast I raised dares to threaten me with a knife. It's like the world has turned upside down." But she didn't dare say it to my face or hit me, because my dad was out working and not at home. I ignored her, only occasionally sharpening my knife in front of her, which scared her into repeatedly telling my younger brother to stay away from me. The classmates who bullied me that day were also disciplined. Mr. Du personally intervened and contacted their parents. The culprits tried to argue back, but they didn't expect Mr. Du to be so unwilling to talk more, and he directly showed a video in front of their parents. The video was provided by Jang Yi. Maybe he had done something similar in his past life. Nothing could be more persuasive than this video. Even when a few girls accused me of carrying a fruit knife to threaten them, no one believed them. Thus, I became the clear victim in this bullying incident. They were forced to publicly apologize to me, their heads bowed. After everyone else had left the office, Mr. Du finally asked me, "Where's the knife?" The girl I had supposedly threatened had clamored to search my backpack but found nothing she hoped to see. After a tense moment with Mr. Du, I silently patted my pocket. Mr. Du's eyes widened. He was so angry that he had to drink a cup of cold tea to calm down. "All troublemakers." He pointed at me and scolded, "Just like Jang Yi. Both of you are stubborn and unruly. No wonder that brat repeatedly reminded me to keep an eye on you. I thought you were a gentle girl, but it turns out you're not." I stood there silently listening to the scolding, which only made Mr. Du angrier. He slammed his hand on the desk. "Even now, you have the same indifferent attitude as Jang Yi." It was only interrupted by the bell for the next period, when Xiao, remember, he waved me off to class but then called me back with a serious look. "There are many paths you can take. If one doesn't work, switch to another. Why let yourself be suffocated? Your life is still long. There's no need to ruin it over a moment of impulsiveness." I nodded, then asked Mr. Du, "Why doesn't Jang Yi come to school?" Jang Yi, Mr. Du wasn't surprised that I asked about Jang Yi. He laughed and scolded, "What am I, a head of intelligence? If you want to know about him, go ask him yourself. All I can say is that Jang Yi also has his own path to follow." I nodded, showing I understood. I don't know what path Jang Yi is on, but I know that this time, I will try my best to ensure that Jang Yi can continue on his path safely and smoothly. This is the path I have chosen for myself. When I saw Jang Yi again, it was a week later at a physics competition. The competition was held at another school, and he came to pick up Jiang Wang and take him home. This was also my first meeting with Jiang Wang since my rebirth. He was much thinner than Jang Yi and had a friendly smile on his face. Despite having the same face, I could now easily distinguish between the two. My seat was right in front of Jiang Wang. He was slightly startled when he saw me, then gave me a slightly stiff but gentle smile. It was nothing like the sharp and mocking tone of our past life. I quickly looked away, quietly waiting for the competition to start. Do I hate Jiang Wang? Not really. After all, from the beginning, it was me who mistook him for someone else. And then I thought I was being kind by following him around, constantly clinging to him. It's only normal that Jiang Wang didn't like me. Jiang Wang finished his exam a few minutes before I did. When I exited the school, I saw him standing with Jang Yi. Jang Yi was wearing a baseball cap and a mask, casually draping his arm over Jiang Wang's shoulders, his relaxed demeanor completely different from Jiang Wang's. I walked towards Jang Yi. Jiang Wang saw me first. He was slightly taken aback, instinctively wanting to turn his head, but he couldn't help but let a small smile creep across his lips. From start to finish, Jiang Wang's gaze was fixed on me. It wasn't until he saw me bypassing him to stand by Jiang Yi's side, Jiang Yi. My eyes were on Jiang Yi the whole time. I've come to see you. This was our third meeting. Jiang Yi had mentioned that on our third meeting, he would give me the answer I was seeking. Even disguised like this, you still recognize me. Jiang Yi was surprised, then laughed and teased. You really are stubborn. Shall we go for a meal? It's my treat. I nodded. I didn't look at Jiang Wang, so I didn't notice the color drain from his face the moment I called out Jiang Yi. He turned pale. Jiang Wang, are you coming? Jiang Yi asked again. It's just a regular noodle shop. You might not be used to it. Jiang Wang, born into a wealthy family, was very particular about what he ate and drank. On this, he was quite different from Jiang Yi. I thought Jiang Wang would refuse. Okay, unexpectedly, he agreed. His voice was a bit hoarse. The noodle shop owner was an acquaintance of Jiang Yi and even served us extra side dishes. Jiang Yi and I were quite satisfied with the meal. Jiang Wang, however, only took a few bites before putting down his chopsticks, unable to hide his displeasure. I knew you wouldn't like it, Jiang Yi mocked, handing him a bottle of mineral water. Maybe you should just have Uncle Wang pick you up and take you home. No need. Jiang Wang refused. He looked at me, his eyes filled with an unreadable emotion. How did you meet my brother? Your brother saved me. I thought for a moment and decided to tell Jiang Wang, twice, so I'm really grateful to him. This young lady is the one I told you about before. Jiang Yi opened a bottle of beer, then raised an eyebrow at me. Drink? I shook my head. He laughed again. See, this is the girl who doesn't smoke or drink but had the guts to confront those who bullied her with a knife. That seemed to astonish Jiang Wang. He mumbled something under his breath and finally only said softly, I had no idea. You think just because you're a bit smarter, you know everything. Jiang Yi clearly misunderstood Jiang Wang's remark, and Jiang Wang didn't bother to explain further. Soon after, Uncle Wang arrived and took Jiang Wang away. You know the second young master is unwell, yet you still bring him to places like this. Uncle Wang's tone was noticeably less respectful towards Jiang Yi than towards Jiang Wang, even carrying a hint of reproach. In my memory, because of Jiang Wang's poor health, the entire Jiang family was extremely cautious around him. Yet even so, this attitude towards Jiang Yi was something I couldn't help but feel angry about. So I stepped in front of Jiang Yi, my tone harsh. Jiang Wang chose to come, and Jiang Yi tried to dissuade him. Jiang Wang's eyelashes trembled, and he looked up at me, seemingly in disbelief, but Jiang Yi just chuckled and nudged me, teasing, standing in front of me. You think if something really happened, your little frame could stop anything. He always carried this carefree demeanor, even when misunderstood. He wasn't keen on explaining himself. This instantly ignited a nameless rage within me, directed at Jiang Yi. I glared at him fiercely, perhaps sensing that I was genuinely angry. Jiang Yi touched his nose uncomfortably, then skillfully began to placate. It was just a joke. Our sister Qiao is so formidable, she could take down 10 strong men by herself. I remained silent. He continued to glare at him. It was indeed my decision to come along. Jiang Wang suddenly spoke up, his voice rough. It has nothing to do with my brother. Uncle Wang looked somewhat embarrassed, but in the end, he just glanced at Jiang Yi and left with Jiang Wang. Keep glaring and your eyeballs will fall out. A sudden coolness touched my face. It was Jiang Yi holding an ice-cold Coke to my cheek. Your face is all red from anger. I don't even know what you're mad about. Though he said that, his eyes were full of a teasing sparkle. Why won't you explain? I suddenly remembered the information I had gathered about Jiang Yi in my past life. Uneducated, violent, troublemaker. These had almost become synonyms for Jiang Yi, but I didn't believe them. Jiang Yi thought for a moment, then answered me very seriously. Because I was born without a mouth. Jiang Yi grunted, then pressed down hard on my head. Your brother Yi isn't deaf. I can hear you, but clearly, Jiang Wang and I look exactly alike. Jiang Yi cut me off. He leaned down, his bright eyes intently fixed on me, a rare seriousness in his demeanor. He's good-looking, has a great personality, and excellent academic performance. Whether you want someone to look up to or just like this face, he would be a better choice. If you think you owe me because I've helped you out before, you really don't have to. Jang Yi chuckled lightly. He straightened up, his voice casual. I'm full of flaws. The only good thing about me might be my occasional acts of kindness. I can't pass by a stray cat or dog without giving it a sausage, or a beggar without throwing a few coins, let alone a poor girl. The anger in my heart gradually subsided. I quietly watched Jang Yi, feeling his deliberate distance again. He seemed to care about nothing, but I noticed his hand trembling slightly as he spoke. His words did not match his feelings, so I told Jang Yi, when I was born, my mother wanted to strangle me. She had always wanted a son, but ended up having 2 daughters. However, she didn't succeed because the villagers stopped her. Later, she wanted to sell me, but I knew my way back home. They didn't want me to go to school because they thought girls should ultimately benefit someone else's family. And it would be better to spend the money on nice clothes for a son, so I've always worked hard to pay for my own tuition, giving them no excuse to make me drop out. Jang Yi fell silent too. So Jang Yi, you will never know how heroic you were that day when you stopped my mom. My vision gradually blurred. I couldn't even see Jang Yi clearly anymore. Jiang Wang is great, but even if he is the best person in the world, he is not the light I want to chase, so even if you really don't need. I opened my mouth, but suddenly couldn't continue. What if Jang Yi didn't need it? What if Jang Yi, like Jiang Wang, really didn't need my useless reciprocation? I suddenly became bewildered, even somewhat at a loss, until Jang Yi suddenly burst into laughter. He laughed exaggeratedly, he even covered his face with his hands, his shoulders shaking. It's the first time someone has described me as their light, considering I'm usually called trash or mud. After he had laughed enough, he lowered his hands, still smiling at me. Then, with a resigned yet indulgent tone, he repeated, Wen Qiao, you really are a strange stubborn creature, but, you're quite like me, Jiang Yi added, his smile bright. Jiang Yi allowed me to stay by his side. I thought it was so I could repay him more, but in reality, it was often Jiang Yi who took care of me. Every time he bought breakfast, he'd get an extra portion, saying a younger brother had left, but he was used to buying it already. If you don't want to eat it, just let Zhou throw it away. So, I was able to have breakfast every day. Jiang Yi always asked me to share more interesting stories from school whenever we met. There's not much to do usually, and when people get bored, they look for some fun. Jiang Yi chuckled. I remember there were quite a few oddballs at No. 2 middle school. Make sure you tell me about them. Don't know any, just go ask around. I rarely interacted with others, so naturally, I didn't know about these peculiar stories from No. 2 middle school, but these were the stories Jang Yi wanted to hear. So, I started making an effort to talk to my classmates, and then during our meetings, I would meticulously recount the gossip I heard to Jang Yi. He always found it hilariously entertaining. I really want to know how you can keep a straight face while telling such funny stories. As Jang Yi wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes laughing, he encouraged me, keep it up. There are more oddballs at No. 2 waiting for you to discover. So, I continued to engage with more classmates, sharing gossip and stories about the oddities at No. 2 middle school, until one day, my usually aloof desk mate remarked with emotion, I used to think you were some unapproachable, aloof top student who disdained talking to us. I didn't realize you also enjoyed gossip. It seems we have more in common than I thought. It was then I realized that my relationship with my classmates had warmed considerably. For the first time, I truly felt integrated into the class. When I met with Jang Yi next, I earnestly told him, I want to really do something for you. Jang Yi smiled and then asked, do you think gratitude can only be shown through one-sided giving? I was momentarily stunned. During the years I mistook Jiang Wang for Jang Yi. I had always acted this way. I followed Jiang Wang's wishes, protected him, and did everything for him, even if it meant he might tire of me. I had tried to repay Jiang Wang for 5 years in this way. Isn't that how it is? Jiang Yi seemed unsurprised by my reaction and patiently asked me, you told me the gossip from No. 2, which entertained me. Isn't that true? I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I was happy. So can that be considered your way of repaying me? I responded gloomily. So, what are you struggling with? Jiang Yi looked at me with a smile. Wen Qiao, why don't you try a way that also makes you happy? Jiang Yi told me that even gratitude could follow a different path, a path that doesn't need to be thorny. On that path, you can also meet very warm people. You're young, yet you overthink. Jiang Yi teased me again. If you really want to do something, Just lend me your notes for a few days. Most of the boys he led had dropped out of school due to family reasons. Jang Yi always said he was leading a group of delinquents, but in reality, since meeting Jang Yi, these people never did anything bad again. Nowadays, even delinquents need to be educated, Jang Yi told me seriously, otherwise, they might go out and think insults are compliments. Notes from a future top scorer in the college entrance exam. It's definitely a win for us. Jang Yi was always confident that I would be the top scorer. He had always believed his younger brother would be the future top scorer, yet I had surpassed Jiang Wang in the unified exam, proving to be even more capable than his brother. However, when the notes were returned, they were even more meticulously organized, especially the mathematics notes. The key points I had overlooked were highlighted and thoughtfully linked to previously learned concepts. Jiang Yi suggested that perhaps one of his promising protégés had been discovered, but Xiaozhou secretly told me that Jiang Yi had organized the notes. Although Brother Yi is biased towards certain subjects, he's especially good at math. Xiaozhou looked proud as he said this. Then why doesn't he come to school? This was the second time I asked this question, but I received the same response, that, you'll have to ask Brother Yi yourself. Xiaozhou scratched his head. Looking somewhat troubled, Brother Yi doesn't let us talk about it, so, I asked Jiang Yi. I thought you would hold off for a while before asking. Jiang Yi was smoking a cigarette. As he approached me, he extinguished it and stepped back a little. Will you tell me then? I stared at Jiang Yi's red hair. What I saw that day was not an illusion. Jiang Yi had dyed his hair a striking red, whereas when we first met, he had replaced his sick brother Jiang Wang to attend school, wearing a black wig. No, Jiang Yi honestly told me, little Woody, knowing more about me isn't a good thing. Jiang Yi said my name was Woody and that I was as wooden as my name, so, I didn't press further. Instead, I copied the notes Jiang Yi had organized for me again and distributed them to my classmates. The end-of-month test was coming up soon. Oh my god. After the exam, my deskmate hugged me, jumping up and down. Jojo, your notes were a lifesaver, especially for science. I overlooked several points, but they were all on the test. Ah, I absolutely love you. Several other classmates who used the notes also came to thank me. This drew more people over. What notes? What notes? Save me, God. I lent them the notes, then told them, it wasn't me who organized them, it was Jiang Yi. Jiang Yi, a well-informed classmate's face changed, the twin brother of Jiang Wang from first middle school. I was taken aback, then nodded, yes, then I don't want them. He immediately threw down the notes he had picked up, his face filled with disgust. A scumbag who raped a girl in junior high and caused her death. What good notes could he produce? I advise you to stay away from him. Such a scumbag might commit a crime any day now. He's just trash that misbehaves because his family has some money. With each mention of scumbag and trash, his tone was condescending and full of disdain, unsatisfied. He stomped on the notes several times as if he had touched some filthy mud. His words stunned everyone. I stared blankly at the noticeable footprints on the notes. My mind went blank. By the time I snapped back to reality, I was already scuffling with him. 16. Of course, my mom wouldn't come to school, and old Du was conveniently out of town. In the end, it was Jiang Yi who found someone to settle this matter for me. Now I know why you insist on following me around, you brat, Jiang Yi sneered. You're just looking for someone to clean up your mess. I kept my head down, silent. Although I was actually 8 years older than 17-year-old Jiang Yi, I was scolded into silence by him. Unexpectedly, Jiang Wang also showed up. He stood silently by Jiang Yi's side, his eyes deep as he watched him tend to my wounds. Then, when Jiang Yi stepped out for a bit, he suddenly said, when Xiao doesn't fight. I continued my bandaging without pause, so he repeated softly. 16-year-old Wen Xiao doesn't fight because she is timid and afraid of causing trouble, but 25-year-old Wen Xiao does, she fights fiercely. Towards the end, Jiang Wang's voice noticeably trembled. He stared at me intently, his eyes reddening, finally choking up. So Wen Xiao, you've come back too, haven't you? 17. I rarely reminisce about my high school days, but Jiang Wang's affirmative, because she is timid and afraid of causing trouble, unexpectedly made me laugh. You're right. I smiled at Jiang Wang, my eyes curving. So after that bullying incident, 16-year-old Wen Xiao was forcibly taken back home. She couldn't take the college entrance exam and later relied on the Jiang family's support to continue her studies and attend university. With this nearly confessional honesty, Jiang Wang's eyes lit up instantly. She accepted the Jiang family's kindness and ought to repay them, later. She saw the young man who had helped her back then in the Jiang family, and she felt even more indebted to this family. I paused, then shook my head somewhat helplessly. I never regret what I've done, but Jiang Wang, I think I really made a mistake this time. When Jiang Wang, sensing what I was about to say, began breathing rapidly. His health was poor, and now he was gasping heavily, his face devoid of color. So, I didn't continue. If something were to happen to Jiang Wang, Jiang Yi would be very worried. I'm not surprised to hear about Jiang Wang's rebirth. It's not that I had foreseen it, but as for me now, whether it's the 17-year-old Jiang Wang or the 25-year-old Jiang Wang, he really doesn't matter much to me anymore. Jiang Wang understands this about me. So, after calming himself down, he almost gritted his teeth and asked me, "So it was never about me that you cared, was it? So after you found out the truth, you couldn't even spare a thought for me, right?" I remained silent. Desperation crept into Jiang Wang's eyes. He stepped forward and grabbed my wrist, squeezing it as if he wanted to crush me. He demanded, word by word, "What makes you think you can just say I did something wrong and let it all pass easily? On what grounds?" So, I paid the price too. It hurt a bit from his grip, but it was still within my tolerance. I smiled at Jiang Wang and said softly, "So I died, isn't that price enough to satisfy you?" The word died seemed to touch a sensitive nerve in Jiang Wang. He let go of my hand and gave a miserable smile. "Right, so you died, you deserved it." The usual gentleness was gone from Jiang Wang, and he revealed his thorns again. You should see what you looked like after you died, when they pulled you out of the water. Your body was so swollen by the water that your face was unrecognizable. You should really see how hideous you looked after death." He seemed to be trying to provoke my anger with these words, but what Jiang Wang didn't know was that a long time ago, I had already let go of such useless emotions. So I sighed, "Then it must have been hard on you to bother retrieving my body, costing quite a bit of money, right?" My words caught Jiang Wang off guard. He wanted to say more, but was interrupted by Jiang Yi walking in. "What body?" He had overheard some words and looked at us both suspiciously, then laughed it off. "You just hurt your hand, right? Don't worry, you won't die. But if you fight again next time, I promise I'll beat you to death first." Jiang Yi stared at me, finally pulling a sinister smile. I turned my head pretending not to hear, which annoyed him so much that he reached out and tousled my hair, cursing me as a stubborn blockhead. Jiang Wang watched our interaction, remaining silent. As for the fight, it eventually blew over, but because of it, I finally learned why Jiang Yi couldn't continue his schooling. Years ago, someone saw a girl running out of an alley disheveled and terrified. She was so panicked that she didn't see the traffic and ran into the street, where she was hit by a car. Afterward, Jiang Yi also ran out. The girl didn't die but ended up in a vegetative state, still lying in the hospital to this day. There were no cameras in that area, so Jiang Yi, who ran out following her, was labeled by everyone as the culprit, even though Jang Yi explained many times that it wasn't him, that he was just trying to save the girl, and because they couldn't find the man who allegedly tried to assault her, and the only witness who could clear Jiang Yi's name was still comatose in the hospital, everyone thought it was just an excuse from him. No one believed him, including his own parents. Everyone thought Jiang Yi was just a troublemaker, and the words of a troublemaker couldn't be trusted. What Jiang Yi's parents did was forcibly withdraw him from school, bring him back home, and forcefully suppress the matter. Actually, Xiao Yu was not really a troublemaker at that time, Mr. Du said angrily as he told me this story. He just wanted to give those kids a chance to reform, which is why he got involved with them. But no one believed him, except for me. No one believed him. Not the school teachers, not his classmates, not even Jiang Yi's parents believed that someone could be genuinely kind enough to guide a group of delinquents towards a better path, especially since he's just a middle school student. Do you know why Jiang Yi fights? Old Du asked me again. I was silent for a moment before I answered. Because of Jiang Wang. Jiang Wang's health was poor, and everyone in the Jiang family treated him with kid gloves, as if he were fragile. But the Jiang family couldn't always have someone by Jiang Wang's side. So the one who spent the most time with Jiang Wang was Jiang Yi. See, even you understand the reason. How can his parents not see it? Old Du's smile was full of mockery. I remembered Mr. Jiang and Madame Jiang from my past life and thought that perhaps they knew initially. The Jiang family has always placed great emphasis on reputation, even if Jiang Yi fought to protect Jiang Wang. But once he threw a punch, he went from being a victim to an aggressor. Jiang's parents could accept him being a victim temporarily, but they couldn't accept him being an aggressor all the time, so they chose Jiang Wang, the more obedient, better performing child who could bring more benefits to the Jiang family. When Xiao, old Du patted my shoulder and sighed, "Sometimes I really think you two are alike," the matter resurfaced. The Jiang family had suppressed it with force in the past, resulting in an even more severe backlash this time, and I was the catalyst for this backlash. I went to find Jang Yi but couldn't find him. I thought he was angry. Before I could find Jang Yi and explain, my dad came home. He dragged me back home using the excuse that I fought and disobeyed, and nobody stopped him, perhaps feeling that the backbone of the family had returned. My mom exaggeratedly described how unruly I had been lately. In a few more years, she'll just randomly run off with some guy. She cursed me with the most venomous words. Even my younger brother joined in, hitting me with a toy car. "Don't run away, use the money to buy me toys." The metal toy car hit my forehead, blood flowed down, blurring my vision. But I just quietly watched this family, probably reminded by my mom. The first thing my dad did when he dragged me home was to strip off my clothes and find the knife I had hidden on me. I stood before them nearly naked, my emotions numb to the point of indifference. They locked me in the house. To punish me, my mom starved me for several days. The slight weight I had gained from being with Jiang Yi was completely gone. "Do you still want to keep her?" I heard my dad ask my mom. "Contact them and ask for more dowry money, and marry this dead girl off directly." They hid all the sharp objects in the house, to prevent me from running away. My hands and feet were almost always tied, except when eating. It seemed like I was back in the darkest times of my past life, but this time, I was calm. I had thought of a way out. At worst it would be a fight to the death, but I didn't expect that Jiang Wang would bring the police just as I was about to be sold to an old man. To prevent any accidents, the two of them had almost settled on a price and were about to marry me off immediately. The man was dressed in an old-fashioned bright red wedding suit, and everyone around him was joyfully congratulating him, completely ignoring me, who was tied up. It was then that Jiang Wang burst in with the police. Animals. His eyes were red with anger, and his hands trembled as he untied me. He then took off his clothes and covered the glaring wedding suit I was wearing. Aside from these words, Jiang Wang didn't say anything else. "Someone has reported you for illegal kidnapping. It's just an engagement. Just an engagement," my dad explained to the police with a smile. "Girls in the countryside get married early. We were just letting this girl get engaged first, to marry when she comes of age. It's not illegal." Right, that's exactly it. And moreover, this is a family matter. You police shouldn't interfere in other people's family affairs, right? My mom also chimed in, and the man was taken aback. Standing there not daring to say a word, I report, due to not having had food or water for a long time, my voice was hoarse. I report them for human trafficking. When I mentioned this, the policeman's expression turned stern immediately. I once had an older sister, but after I was old enough to work, I never saw her at home again, because she was sold by our mother, sold to an old widower to bear his children. She was taken to the old man's home, tied up by the man who was nominally her father. He even broke her legs to prevent her from escaping. So from a very young age, I knew what I was going to face in the future. When they discovered my talent for learning, they decided to let me go to school, because a cultured young girl would fetch a higher price. I thought my sister was the first, but I later learned that this wasn't their first time doing such a thing. My sister wasn't the first girl they had ruined. In my past life, I spent a lot of energy gathering evidence and personally sent them to prison. This time around, it was much easier. I led the police to the basement at home, where 3 unconscious young girls were still being kept. There was also a ledger in my mother's room. It recorded every girl they had trafficked over the years and the price each was sold for. The latest entry was my name, price, 3,000 yuan. The evidence was irrefutable, and those 2 were taken away by the police directly. Before being taken away, my dad, gasping for breath, glared at me viciously, while my mom cursed me with all kinds of vulgar language, wishing me a miserable death. My brother rushed at me fearlessly with his little metal car, shouting, "I'll kill you, you costly nuisance." He was only 6 years old. Jiang Wang stepped in front of me and easily stopped all his movements. "Get lost." My brother was scared into tears. To cooperate with the investigation, Jiang Wang and I also went to the police station. Hearing them repeatedly express their thanks to student Jiang Wang, I couldn't help feeling a bit dazed. When we came out, it was almost dark. Jiang Wang had maintained a polite smile all day and now couldn't help but rub his sore cheeks. "You, I still prefer you with red hair." He turned to look at me, about to say something, but I calmly cut him off. Jiang Wang was taken aback, then emphasized, "The one with red hair is my brother." I stopped in my tracks and then told him, "Only Jiang Yi can order me around, and only Jiang Yi can take me away." Jiang Wang, or rather Jiang Yi, who had swapped identities with Jiang Wang, laughed. "Alright." He refused to admit his identity and walked ahead. "Then you just wait here to see if he comes to pick you up." I remained silent. Jiang Yi left. In the evening, it suddenly started raining. I found a bench by the roadside to sit down on, quietly thinking about what else I could do for Jiang Yi, and then I realized, somewhat despondently and confusedly, that it seemed I had been causing trouble for Jiang Yi all this time. This was entirely different from when I was with Jiang Wang. Even if Jiang Wang despised me, he couldn't fault any of my actions. I always managed to resolve everything perfectly for Jiang Wang, but why is it different now? I pondered this until a familiar voice approached from afar. "Don't you know to find a place to hide when it rains?" God damn it, it was Jiang Yi, who had returned. He didn't have an umbrella either and ran over all drenched, then without another word, tried to drag me away. "Jiang Yi." I called his name, then smiled. This time, I really don't have a home. When I said this, I felt no sadness, only relief. I had once said something similar to Jiang Wang. That was the only time I had ever shown my vulnerable side in front of Jiang Wang, but Jiang Wang had said, "Lin Qiao, do you think you're any better than your parents?" So I never spoke of it again, but this time was different. This time, I had found Jiang Yi, so I gathered up my courage and carefully asked the question I had never dared to ask in my previous life. "So, Jiang Yi, can you take care of me one more time?" Jiang Yi fell silent. This time, he didn't deny it. Instead, he pulled at the corners of his mouth and glared at me, his voice rough and harsh. "When have I not taken care of you? I've practically been at your beck and call." I couldn't help but laugh, though my eyes stung with tears. "Jiang Yi always called me a blockhead, so I called you little blockhead a few times, and you took it so seriously that you think you're a spirit made of wood, needing to drink rainwater and absorb the essence of heaven and earth. Is that it?" But when he saw the wounds on my body, all his scolding choked off. He eventually managed to force a few words out of his throat. "I should have kicked those beasts a few more times when I had the chance." Then he started talking about other things, trying to distract me. "It's finally okay. I thought you were mad at me." I looked down at my bandaged wounds, somewhat dazed. "I said I wanted to repay you, but I end up causing you trouble every time. I thought you were angry, so I couldn't find you again." "Why would you think I was angry?" "Because you didn't want to bring up those things." "Just because I don't want to bring it up doesn't mean no one else will talk about it. I can't shut everyone up." Jiang Yi was amused and then told me, "I wasn't angry. I just had some things to deal with and went back for a few days. If I were really angry, would I have gone to all that trouble to save you?" Later, I found out that because that incident was brought up again, Jiang Yi was taken back to the Jiang family by his angry parents. He was worried I wouldn't be able to find him, that I might overthink things or something might happen, so he spent those days trying to figure out a way to get out. In the end, it was Jiang Wang who suggested they swap identities, so Jiang Yi starved himself. After he looked as sickly as Jiang Wang, they switched identities and he escaped, but he never told me any of this. He only mentioned that his identity wasn't suitable to show up at the police station. "So how did you recognize me?" Clearly, Jiang Yi was more interested in this. He stroked his chin. "Even my parents couldn't tell us apart." I didn't know how to explain. It seemed that as soon as Jiang Yi appeared in front of me, I could immediately recognize him. If I had to describe it precisely, it was probably because I was subconsciously afraid that if I mistook someone else for Jiang Yi again, I would never be able to find him. So I said, "I won't make the mistake of misrecognizing you a second time." Jiang Yi thought I had mistaken Jiang Wang for him the first time, so he didn't take it too seriously, just smiled. Before long, old Du, who had received the news, hurried over. He didn't say much, just patted my shoulder with reddened eyes and comforted me in a low voice. "Let's go. Your master's wife is waiting at home." Jiang Yi didn't follow, but as I was being led away by old Du, he suddenly asked me, "Do you trust me that much?" The young man still wore his usual brazen, carefree smile, but I sensed something cautiously hidden deep within, so after thinking for a bit, I gave my answer. "I am a blockhead, you know. A wooden person is the least adaptable, clinging stubbornly to one belief." Jiang Yi slowly lost his smile. Finally, with a sigh, he muttered softly, "You're stubbornly peculiar." Our relationship seemed to have grown closer. He didn't go out as often. Instead, Old Du grabbed him by the ear and made him start relearning high school knowledge. A brother should set a good example for his sister. Jang Yi initially wanted to refuse, but swallowed his words when he saw me watching him. He touched his nose and finally looked up with a long sigh. Alright, because of that incident, no high school would accept Jang Yi, so he could only study at Old Du's house. Xiaozhou was right. Jang Yi really was severely biased in his subjects. Even though he had only been self-studying for a while, he could still score nearly perfect on the math portion of the standardized test, but his scores in the humanities were a complete mess. This infuriated Old Du, who taught literature, so much that he couldn't help but pick up a stick to beat him, raging, "I think you're just trying to provoke me." At this time, Jiang Yi would become unusually well-behaved. He toned down his playful demeanor and listened to the scolding with his head bowed. The tall young man, over 6 feet tall, huddled miserably in front of the old man, daring not to move, but he dared to sneak winks at me when Old Du wasn't looking. Clearly I listened, but I won't change manner, even now. This "a dead pig is not afraid of boiling water" attitude is exactly like Jiang Yi. I remembered the words Old Du had shouted at me that day, slamming the table angrily. I couldn't help but smile. My lips pursed. The Jiang Yi standing before me now was vivid and full of life. He was nothing like the cold, lifeless words on the few pages of paper from my past life. So, I always thought I should do even more. 26. I went to meet the family of the girl in a vegetative state. The Jiang family took care of all the medical expenses, and Jiang Yi also visited the girl. However, her family was convinced that Jiang Yi was responsible for their daughter's condition. So they would curse and chase him away whenever he visited, but Jiang Yi would come by periodically, quietly leave some things, and then depart, even though the things he brought were always thrown out. So, when they heard I came because of Jiang Yi, the originally gentle smiles on their faces instantly changed. "I didn't come to persuade you to forgive him." After being chased out, I quickly reached out to stop them from shutting the door. The door pinched my hand, causing a faint thud. My palm swelled up almost immediately, turning red. Unaware of the pain, I almost pleaded, "Could you give me just a few minutes?" The family looked at my hand and finally fell silent. So, I told them a story about Jiang Yi from the perspective of the thugs led by him, as told by Old Du. I pulled out a voice recorder. It was the most expensive one that the boys could afford with their money after learning I was going to see the family. They said only the most expensive one was worthy of their brother Yi, but in reality, they had just too much to say. It was filled with their words. I had no parents. My grandmother raised me by collecting garbage. Before I met brother Yi, I never knew people were supposed to eat 3 meals a day. This was said by Fatty. Nobody could have imagined how skinny he was before meeting Jiang Yi. Just skin.